12 will do, but 13 is the preference.
Okay, well, my 10s all of a sudden feel
My 7 looks very small.
You get 2 of your feet to
But I make it up for a big mouth, don't I?
You will certainly do that, Lee.
Good luck.
And even I didn't have to say that to you. All right. Thanks very much indeed. All right. Time for our first news update of the 9 till noon show at 9 o'clock. Good morning, Donald Kavanagh.
Thank you, Greg. Good morning. The NCT Test Centre in Derrybeg had the lowest pass rate of any in the country last year. Dean's Grange in South Dublin had the highest. The figures compiled by independent.ie also reveal a total of 14 test centres had pass rates below 50%. All 3 of the centres in Donegal were below the national average, which was 54.3%. Donegal Town's pass rate was 51, Letterkenny's 46.4 and Derrybeg's was just 40. Over 200 medicines now unavailable to Irish patients, including treatments for chest infections, strep throat, pneumonia and blood pressure. The analysis compiled by industry experts also found 11 of those medicines deemed critical by the World Health Organization. A Sinn Féin MLA in Derry has condemned a sectarian attack on homes in the Fountain Estate at the weekend and is urging anyone with information to bring it forward to the PSNI. With more, here's Donna Marie Doherty.
Police say on Saturday evening they received a report that a number of rocks had been thrown at 2 houses shortly before 4:45 by a group of young people. A window was broken in one of the houses, with an interior wall and children's toy damaged in the room. Police say there were children inside one of the properties at the time who were uninjured but understandably shaken. The suspects are understood to have left the area via Hawkins Street towards Newgate. Police say they are treating their attack as a sectarian-motivated hate crime. Foyle MLA Padraig Delargy described the attack as reprehensible and sectarian, saying children narrowly escaped serious injury when rocks were thrown through the window of their home. He concluded there is no place for sectarianism in Derry, and the people of the city want and are entitled to an inclusive, better future for themselves and their children.
Concerns have been expressed at what's been described as persistent reckless driving along Strabane bypass at the Orchard Road junction. The Vice Chair of Derry and Strabane Police and Community Partnership, Paul Boggs, is urging the drivers involved to desist and show consideration for local residents. He says he's been contacted by people in College Grove and the Orchard in relation to the ongoing incidents, which he says are endangering the lives of people in the local community and travelling on the A5.
The Orchard Road Industrial sits just adjacent to the A5. It's a very busy road, and this kind of behaviour is happening late at night. It's often happened when the lights of cars are off, and then when other cars approach, the people behind these activities are making their way off at high speed. So the actual activity itself is very, very dangerous, whereby people are donutting, for want of a better word, in the middle of busy roads, in the dark, and built-up areas where there are residential settings all around.
A Sligo Leitrim in South Donegal today claims plans for Quilcha and a British-based investment firm to purchase large amounts of land in the west and northwest for tree planting will decimate the livelihoods of local farmers. Marion Harkin expressed concern after it emerged Quilcha plans to purchase over 50,000 hectares, with 50% of that being owned by the hedge fund Gresham House. Deputy Harkin fears local farmers will be frozen out of the market.
Gresham House would be able to buy this land, and then Quilcha would manage the planting, the forestation, and that company, Gresham House, if there was any entitlements on the land, they'd be able to get the single farm payment, and of course they'd be able to get the very substantial grant aid. The major issue is that no local farmer will be able to compete.
Blustery with fresh to strong and gusty westerly winds, a mix of scattered showers and sunny spells through the day. The showers becoming more isolated by nightfall. Highs of 6 to 8 with winds easing this evening. That's Highland Radio News. Back with more at 10 o'clock.
We're all looking into this new year with one eye on the cost of living. Where can we save a bit on the costs without cutting back on the living part? Well, here's something major. Buy your car insurance online with Liberty right now, and we'll give you up to 3 months free. That's the cover you want and the savings you need. That's Liberty Insurance. Future-proof. Acceptance criteria, terms and conditions apply. Liberty Seguros Company of the Seguros Area Seguros SA. Trading as Liberty Insurance is authorised by the General Directorate of Insurance and Pensions Funds in Spain and is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland for conduct of business rules. Up to 3 months free is equivalent to a 25% online discount. Applies to new private car policies only. Subject to a minimum premium and applied before optional covers.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union. Do you need to switch your current account or loan? We are now offering MyCU current account and debit MasterCard, bringing full banking features and competitive rate switcher loans. The county's #1 talk show, The 9 till noon show on Highland Radio. And now, it's time for the talk of the Northwest. The 9 to Noon Show with Greg Hughes on Highland Radio.
Hello and a very good morning to you. 5 minutes past 9 on the start of another week. It's Monday the 9th of January 2023. I hope you're all very well indeed. And hopefully you can stick with us for the next 3 hours in this programme, and we'll keep you entertained and informed throughout the day here on Highland Radio. The numbers are open for you right now to get in contact with us. The text WhatsApp number. I mention this daily because lots of you know the numbers, but there's always people that message or text or call for the first time every day, really. The text WhatsApp number, as I mentioned, 086 60 25,000, 086 60 25,000. Your telephone calls go into us on 07491 25,000, and emails, of course, to comments at highlandradio.com. And if you want to watch the show, as I remind you every day, you can do so on our social media. Highland Radio Ireland on YouTube. You can watch through your YouTube app or Facebook Watch, or directly in the Facebook app, of course, across our Facebook pages and on our website, highlandradio.com. Right, okay, let's take a look at what's making the front pages of the papers today. The Derry People, Donegal News. The Donegal GPs urging parents to keep their children home from school and childcare facilities if they're displaying respiratory symptoms, as the significant rise in infections is having a severe impact on the health service. And I do understand exactly where the GP is coming from, and I'm not questioning his learned advice, but the truth is as well, though, that if parents wake up Monday morning and their child has the sniffles, they might have to call in sick or take time off work to look after those children as well. So that is just something that has to be factored in the real world as well. Dr. Dennis McCauley, GP Committee Chairman with the Irish Medical Organisation, has echoed the plea of the Chief Medical Officer, Breda Smith, who has urged people to avoid attending social settings if they have respiratory symptoms. Dr. McCauley said he thinks it is very practical advice that perhaps is not very intuitive. He said they're asking everybody who has respiratory symptoms, particularly a temperature and a cough, what are you doing going to work, or what are you doing sending your child to school? But there, as I say, there is a real world reality there whereby, you know, you could have a tickly cough for 2 weeks. What do you tell your employer? Who cares for your children if you're both working, or one of you's working, you're single parent? Again, those are things that people also have to consider in reality. With, you know, it'd be great if we didn't have to, but the truth is that's the way it is. What do you think? 086 60 25,000. The Derry News. The last 6 months of cancer waiting times are the worst in record in Northern Ireland. Charity Cancer Research UK said the last quarterly figures released by the Department of Health showed targets were continuing to be missed. There are still significant waiting times for cancer patients, as targets for waiting times have not been met and have continued to drop over the last year. On to the nationals now, and as you may have mentioned in the news, a car testing centre in Donegal had an NCT pass rate more than 20% lower than the country's busiest inspection site last year, new figures show. At just 40%, bar the shout, and Derrybeg in Donegal had the lowest success rate of 49 NCT centres in 2022. Now, I know when these figures are published, we have to be careful with how we discuss this, because obviously there are staff working in these NCT centres. But what would be really interesting is if someone might explain why. Is it because the roads are particularly bad? Is it because people are driving older cars? I imagine the last option is that the NCT staff are particularly fussy. So why would Derrybeg have such a low pass rate at 40%? It's not great elsewhere compared to the national average. Letterkenny, the pass rate is 46.36%. Pass rate. Donegal Town, slightly higher. Just over half of you who get your cars tested there pass, 51.05%. But in Dean's Grange, 62%. Abbeyfield, 60%. Killarney, 59%, and so on and so forth. Why is Derrybeg at 40%? As I say, maybe someone who has knowledge of the centre that works within it, even on the QT anonymously, if you prefer, let us know. 086 60 25,000, because we often presume what it might be. But what is the reason? Why would it be so low there? As I say, is it older vehicles? Is it to do with road conditions? I think it'd be well worth trying to find out in any case. The Irish Times this morning, almost 1,000 nursing home beds lie empty across the state, according to a new survey, while hundreds of patients remain in hospital due to a lack of discharge options. Private nursing homes have 900 to 1,100 beds available to receive hospital patients at present, according to estimates from Irish Nursing Homes Ireland, based on a survey of members in recent days. I wonder what the situation is here in Donegal. Maybe we will try and contact the local rep to see what the story is. The HSE reported 537 patients who could not be transferred out of hospital, so-called delayed transfers of care yesterday morning. And we were speaking to Sean Murphy last week, and we got a snapshot of what it's like in Donegal. In Letterkenny, there were 25 patients, well enough to be discharged, but between a number of different reasons, they couldn't be discharged. And then you had 35 people awaiting a bed. You still would have 10 people awaiting a bed, but that's much less, of course, than 35 if we could find a way of getting people safely out of hospital and into alternative care settings. Delayed transfer, a big cause of hospital congestion, and the trolley crisis often arise from delays in organising fair deal nursing home places or transitional care in other facilities in the community. NHI urged the HSE to inject the required urgency into supporting timely discharges from hospital to free up beds. As I say, it'd be worth speaking to someone from Nursing Homes Ireland, I think, to tease that out. So we're talking about the problems, the solutions. Sorry, we know the problems and we'll keep talking about those, but perpetually every single year we're doing the same thing over and over again. The Irish Daily Mail, parents fear for supplies of Calpol. Worried parents feel supplies of children's medicine Calpol will run out as pharmacists warn of a nationwide surge in respiratory illnesses. The combination of COVID, seasonal flu, respiratory viruses and continued concern over the severe throat infection strep A had caused huge demand for cough and cold medicines. Now, cough and cold medicines, I'm not a doctor, but I don't believe they actually treat strep A. I think strep A develops, and that's something that's bacterial and needs an antibiotic. And of course, every parent is worried about strep A. I think, though, there is a slight difference, isn't there? Well, say, for instance, my understanding is the likes of Calpol and all, it will continue to take an infection down, but if it turns into sort of like a strep A type infection, well, that's when you need to worry, because it might not take the temperature down. I'm not giving medical advice, by the way. I'm just trying to make sense of this story. The Irish Pharmacy Union said the majority of cough medicines, particularly for a dry cough, are proving very difficult to find. Pharmacists in the UK said Calpol is virtually non-existent in some areas there. It's maybe something we can help each other on in that regard, because I would say most people would have a bottle of Calpol that, they didn't get to use when their child was sick, and maybe the neighbour, they need it now whilst its current owner doesn't, and maybe we could help each other out until such time as supplies begin to return. The Irish, and people also have, as well, what's going to happen now with stories like that, people are going to go in and buy a couple of bottles, aren't they? People are going to stock up even if they don't need them. That's what's going to happen with those stories. I'm not saying they shouldn't be run, but that's what we do. We panic and then we say, well, I want to make sure I have some. And then we have a lot of Calpol not being used and none in the shops. But it's a human condition we have. The Irish Daily Star, RTE star Emer O'Neill, who I must admit I've never heard of, has hit out at comedian Tommy Tiernan, who I have, after he told a controversial joke about taxi drivers. Emer attended the Navan Natives comedy gig in Vicar Street in Dublin on Friday night, but she said her heart sank when he began by telling the audience a joke about Dublin Zoo, claiming, "My daughter told me not to tell this joke." The mum of two recalled how Tiernan began telling the joke. "So I was at the zoo the other day and looking at the penguins. They're like little nuns walking around with rosary beads. Then the wolves were so Irish, fierce, strong. Then we went to the African savannah and it was full of taxi drivers." That's pretty offensive. I mean, he's not behind the door in terms of offensive jokes. He told a particularly offensive one against a particular community on the Late Late Show some years ago. But I don't know, I haven't seen him in a long time. The Irish Sun today, booze you lose. Irish drinkers continue to turn their backs on booze, opting for alcohol-free tipples by the millions. Sales of the 0% beer have trebled from under from under 2 million litres to over 5.5 million between 2017 and 2021, New Drinks Ireland stats show. The market share for the non-alcoholic beer soared by 275% during the time and now accounts for 1.5% of beer sales. So it's really still quite low. I say a lot of people drink it so they don't have to keep explaining to people why they're not drinking. Non-drinkers have to spend an awful lot of the time explaining how they don't drink but can still enjoy themselves. And finally, in the Irish Daily Mirror, Prince Harry has claimed he did not label the royal family racist, but added that when you're called out for unconscious bias, you need to make that right. Now, whether people like it or not, there would have been a huge viewership in Ireland and Britain, of course, to Prince Harry's interview last night. I turned off halfway through. I watched it because in case it comes up on the programme, but I did tune out. I mean, a lot of this stuff happens in most families, doesn't it? You know, and to hear a fully grown man who boasted of killing 25 Afghans in what many see as an illegal war, describing them as chess pieces, then being so upset because his brother pushed him over, or that his granny might not like him wearing a beard on his wedding day. A lot of it just doesn't seem to make a great deal of sense to me. He seems incredibly naive. I think the worst advice he's ever received was to write that book and to do those interviews. And I have no doubt in a couple of years, he'll probably blame someone else. I've no issue with him, but he'll blame someone else for advising him to do that. And it was the wrong thing to do and so. So I just think he's always going to... It's never going to be his fault. It's always going to be someone else's fault, and we'll always have to hear about it if you choose to listen, of course. Right, back after the break.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, offering low-rate car loans with fast approval. Apply online at letterkennycu.ie or in office today.
The newspapers are courtesy of Kelly Centra Mountaintop Letterkenny, the 2022 C-Store National Off-Licence of the Year.
Some years ago, I was the victim of a serious crime. The person serving a life sentence for that crime now has an opportunity to apply for parole. But I also have an opportunity to have my voice heard by the parole board.
Victims of a serious crime. Your voice counts in the parole process. Find out more and register at gov.ie/parole board or call 01 474 8770.
With the ongoing war in Ukraine affecting the cost of energy, many of us are facing a challenging winter. Through Budget 23, government is introducing a range of supports to lessen the financial impact on families, households and businesses, and will continue to monitor the situation in the coming months to protect those in difficulty. It's important that everyone stays warm and well, but where safe and possible to do so, reducing energy use can also reduce bills. Changes like turning your thermostat down by 1 degree and considering how often you use energy-intensive appliances like tumble dryers can make a big difference. For information on available supports and energy-saving advice, visit gov.ie/reduce your use. Brought to you by the Government of Ireland.
Are you tired of waiting for treatment or surgery? Did you know you can receive immediate treatment across the border under the new NI planned healthcare scheme at potentially no cost? Donegal patients are still being treated with us at Kingsbridge Private Hospital Northwest post-Brexit. The process is easy and our dedicated team will help guide you through it. So why wait? Contact us today to find out how you can skip the waiting lists and receive treatment in Northern Ireland. Visit kingsbridgeprivatehospital.com. Because life matters.
Green Shoes' big winter sale is now on with massive reductions. Up to 50% off across your favourite brands, including Echo, Tommy Bow, Kate Appleby, Una Healy and many more. Green Shoes at Market Square, Letterkenny Shopping Centre and in Fulcara. Or shop online at greenshoes.com.
OK, Patsy joins us on the line now. Good morning, Patsy.
Good morning, Greg. How are you?
I am good. Right, so tell us what the story is as it relates to young people booking a hotel and then seemingly the bookings being cancelled.
Yeah, so my daughter's going to her prom on Thursday. Mm-hmm. We're in Dunlow. It's the Ross's Community School. They're having their prom on Thursday in Milford. So there's no rooms for them to stay in the hotel in Milford, so they got another hotel in Letterkenny. And I believe it was booked back in October, so it's been booked for quite a long time. So Saturday then, my daughter called me from work, panicking. The hotel called her to say that all their booking for accommodation was being cancelled because they're going to a prom. Now, they knew that it was a prom booking at the time because the prom had been put to them. They refused it. Fair enough, whatever. So they knew that these young people coming in, staying the night, were going to a prom at the time.
Mm-hmm.
So my daughter was like, well, what's the problem? You're going to this function. We don't want you in the hotel. If you're seen in prom attire whatsoever, people will be escorted from the building. So I was like, well, this isn't right. So I wanted to get the other side to the story. So I called the hotel myself, and sure enough, yeah, anything to do with the prom, the function, not allowed to stay overnight in this hotel.
Now, is your daughter under 18?
She's 18.
Right, she's a fully grown adult, effectively.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to establish the legal basis for the cancellation of the booking. Like, I mean, if there were 15-year-olds, say, for instance, staying in a room, you know, maybe this conversation. But she might as well be 88. She's a official adult now.
Of course, and I took that into consideration too. So I asked her, you know, because obviously under 18, I would see the point then. But they're adults. I said, how many is 18 in your year? And she goes, the majority, there's only a few that isn't 18. So these are adults that have booked a stay and it's been cancelled. When I called, the attitude was disgusting, first of all. It was like you were dirt. And I was saying to them, I'm just trying to get, what is the problem? Why can they not stay? Oh, it's to do with the function. I'm sorry. So I just can't get my head around it, to be honest with you. I mean, I know years ago, you know, there used to be issues with proms or whatever, but I mean, there's no more risk than wedding guests.
Like, I think we, in this society, and I can't speak to the motivation of the hotel. We've contacted them looking for some information. Judging people as a group of individuals is never a good idea, I don't think, because it leads to all kind of problems. For example, I'm not saying drink might be a cause of issues, but let's just say your daughter doesn't drink or whatever, and it doesn't really matter, don't get me wrong, but if the concern is that people might misbehave or it might be disrupted to other guests, well, you are grouping a whole group of people in to maybe the worst of that group. Does that make sense? I just don't...
Of course.
Yeah.
And I think young people are... I know most of the people in her year, and I'll tell you, they're more sensible than I ever was at that age. But deal with the individual if a problem arises. You don't deal with a whole group of people. They've left these students 5 days out from the prom with another problem. You know, it's a big deal to them. They've had a hard few years.
I was going to say, I think 18-year-olds now have an awful lot of growing up done compared to an 18-year-old who didn't have 13 years through the pandemic.
Definitely, yeah. And I mean, they've had a hard few years. They've been kept away from their friends and so on. You know, rightly so, whatever. That's a different issue. But this is their step into adulthood, so to speak. I suppose that's what a prom is. And they're being basically told, no, we don't want you because of this function. And what annoyed me about it, Greg, to be honest with you, was there's been so many reports, so many interviews and so on from hotels complaining about how things are so tough for them and so on. And now they're turning away a big group booking because of a function they're going to. And I was told on the phone it was company policy, etc., all the rest of it. But then another parent called me yesterday. They'd called her yesterday to apologise, but to say that they'd made the decision only a few days ago. So It's not company policy. It's something they've decided at the last minute.
Right, Debbie's with us as well. Hi, Debbie.
Hi, how are you getting on, Greg?
I'm all right. Are you a parent or are you one of the students?
I am, yeah.
Okay.
I'm a parent.
Right, you're listening to Patsy there. What's your view?
Yeah, well, I'm just, my thing was they were going out to the prom and it's, the hotel can't keep them there. And we wanted them to go to the next closest hotel that there was because we don't want them traveling. They want somewhere to stay for the night, to put their head down and go to sleep. We want somewhere that we know that they're not travelling far and that they're safe, so we can rest assured that they're okay for the night. And they've made their booking. It was 6 weeks. My daughter had booked online through booking.com, and as I said, it was 9 o'clock at night on Saturday night that the booking was cancelled. She got a phone call. I myself rang the hotel in question.
Can I ask before we get to your conversation? Can you give us the thrust of the conversation that was had with your daughter? Now, maybe your daughter was caught off guard and didn't get an opportunity to question. I don't know, but what was the nature of that conversation?
No, she didn't answer the phone. She left the phone call till I came home from work. And when I came back in, she said they rang me 3 times. So I rang back and I said, sorry, I have a missed call. And when the woman said what it was, and what she said was their policy was not to hold people from another event. And I said, how is that? Like any event you go to, you go, like if you go to a concert, obviously that's the reason you book into a hotel. So I said, that's not. Now, I've looked online at the Silver Tassies policies, and there's absolutely no mention about this particular policy.
Well, look, if you're going to see Gareth Brooks in Croke Park, you're not going to sleep in Croke Park. I mean,
exactly. Yeah. So that's the whole point, is when we book into hotels. So she just said that this was not like that they weren't keeping them and that they were cancelling. She also told me then, I said, look, this is actually her mum. And I said, I just think this is a disgrace. You literally had 6 weeks and now you're coming the week of their prom, which they're, getting prepared for their prom and they're excited. Now this has just put a whole damper on the thing for them. They're all stressing out about hotels and where they're going to stay and what they're going to do. And like the majority of these students is even driving themselves. Like they're not children. They have their heads screwed on, and we just don't want them travelling after a night out. We just want them safe. And and
I mean, even if one of the concerns the hotel had was damage, right? Now, again, this viewing people as a group, I'm really uncomfortable with that. But anyway, let's just say that was one of the concerns. You offered to leave your credit card details to cover any potential damage, which you're confident there never would be. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I did. I said, I get that there has been issues in the past, not only for proms, but there's weddings. Like, there's more chance of me at 36 years doing damage than it is of them doing their leaves out for their night of their prom. It's everybody can sing, but I have no doubt that I have nothing to be concerned about in my room that they have booked. But I said, can you not get a parent even to put a card up against us?
Yeah, but is your daughter not 18 or 19?
My daughter is actually one of the youngest in the year.
She's 17.
She's 17.
Okay.
Her and her friend.
Right, I can get that, but I mean, like 18, 19-year-olds, parents having to sort of say, look, I'll go guarantor on them. I mean, this is, I'm not conflating it, but I was talking to 2 19-year-olds last night, and they were talking about going out, and it's... in certain venues, the venue decides on the night whether or not they're going to allow 18 or 19 or 20-year-olds into it or not. It just depends, presumably, on whether they think they'll be busy enough without them. I mean, if I was an 18, 19, 20-year-old, I would be pursuing a lot of what's going on here in terms of to make sure I'm not being discriminated against just because of my age.
Discrimination is coming into it. Sorry to cut you over.
Go ahead, Patsy.
There, Greg. But they are being discriminated against. If this was a group of elderly people or some other kind of, group, any other kind of group.
Well, if you're over 18, you can't be discriminated based on age, gender, ability or disability, sexual orientation. Or your ethnicity. Those are the rules. You can't be.
And rightly so.
You simply just can't be discriminated against on those grounds.
You know,
You simply just can't be discriminated against on those grounds. You simply just can't be discriminated against on those grounds. You simply just can't be discriminated against on those grounds. You simply just can't be discriminated against on those grounds. You simply just can't be discriminated against on those grounds. You simply just can't be discriminated against on those grounds. You simply just can't be discriminated against on those grounds. You simply just can't be discriminated against on those grounds. You simply just can't be discriminated against on those grounds. You simply just can't be discriminated against on those grounds. You simply just can't be discriminated against on those grounds. You simply just can't be discriminated against on those grounds. You simply just can't be discriminated against on those grounds. You simply just can't be discriminated against on those grounds. You simply just can't be discriminated against on those grounds. You simply just can't be discriminated against on those grounds. You simply just can't be
Well, Greg, there was another parent. She was actually going to go out and spend the night in the Silver Tassel because it was her birthday and whatnot as well. And I suppose they wanted to, just keep a check on things and make sure everything was okay. This parent even rang the Silver Tassel when she got word she'd seen my post, and she called them and she says, "We're staying there the night. We're actually going to the prom venue. We're picking up our daughter and we'll take her back to the room." No, not good enough.
Do either of you, though, unfortunately, we're waiting on a statement, so we have to presume, and I think given what you've been said, maybe this is the reason. Do any of you have any sympathy, though, for the fact that they're running a hotel, they've got loads of other guests there, I presume. It's a beautiful, very fine hotel and spa and all that. Do any of you have any sympathy for the fact, though, that you can vouch very clearly for your children, but that they might be concerned that at 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, they could have a large group of people who've been out celebrating, landing back at the hotel and causing disruptions to other residents and maybe affecting ratings on certain websites or what have you? Like, can either of you sympathise in any way that maybe that could be the motivation?
No, because if that was the case, they shouldn't have any kind of wedding guests, any kind of guests for any type of function. Because a 26 to 46 whatever-year-old will cause as much mayhem, and I've seen it myself, than a 19-year-old, sometimes in cases more, because they can drink more, etc. So, no, I don't have that kind of sympathy.
Patsy,
that
what
is
about
the
you?
point of...
Patsy, have you any sympathy, maybe if that were the stance?
Oh, yeah, that's Debbie here.
Sorry,
no,
Debbie.
I don't. I just think that, like staying in hotels myself, there does be, and it could be an adult outside your window, outside your room, making as much noise, but there's people in the hotel, that's what they have people in, and if there was, that should be nipped in the bud, like, straight away. But I don't think it's fair to target every young person as this bad person that they have put down that, no, we're not actually, that's too much hassle. Like, they have to remember these people now in 4 months' time, as in they're leaving, they're heading to college. These hotels is crying about their future. These people as the hotel's futures. These are the people that's going to come back and have their events, their engagement parties and their weddings.
Working them.
They're exactly working on it. Like, my daughter and her friend has both worked in hospitality themselves until their jobs was lost as the hotel closed to assist with to accommodate people through the war. So they've seen the rooms after people leaving, and it wasn't young people that was in this hotel that was leaving a mess behind. So they appreciate the work that hotel staff puts in, and they respect facilities. So, like, it's just not, they've done all this here, and it's just, why are they being targeted? Every student in the place has been targeted as if.
Right, okay. Well, listen, both of you have made your points very clearly. As I say, we've seen, we're looking for comment from elsewhere. Leave it with us. But both of you, thank you very much. I mean, have you managed at this point to find alternative accommodation, by the way?
We have, but they've been split up, so they're not all in the same venue now. It is put a dampener. I mean, it's the prom. It's a big thing to them. And, rightly so. It was never a big thing to myself, but it's a big thing to them. And it's just left a sour taste in their mouth.
Yeah, and I like the reason in particular, I don't like sometimes the way young people are treated. I mentioned the apparent discrimination from some licensed premises. That's what I can't imagine why else you wouldn't let someone who's an adult into a premises. But the absolute majority of young people are very, very good. They're very good people. They've been through an absolute nightmare for the last couple of years. Less drink than people imagine that they actually do, and those that do, the absolute majority do so and look after themselves. And I just hate to see the future, as one of you described, just being presumed to be wrong-uns or something. Do you know what I mean? I'm not saying that's what the motivation is here, but I just hate when it's our young people that are getting treated like this, especially when so many of them are so good. And by the sounds of it, both of you have an awful lot to be proud of with your daughters.
Yeah, well, Greg, we're teaching these young people to go out and combat any social prejudices that they see, this is what we're entrusting our young people to do. And it's very hard to do that when their own county, establishments in their own county, are doing that to them off the bat. They're doing it to them off the bat for no good reason.
All right, take care of yourself, both of you, and I hope you have a great and safe night. Thank you very much indeed. That's Patsy and Debbie there, 08660 25,000.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, offering low-rate car loans with fast approval. Apply online at letterkennycu.ie or in office today.
On the road for Gas Networks Ireland this winter, you know all about people's energy concerns. Because there are concerns. Every winter and all year round. Rest assured, your gas experts are here, keeping Ireland's energy moving and you informed.
Oh, great. Thanks for coming so quickly.
No problem. How can I help? For expert advice, go to gasnetworks.ie/experts.
New this week in Home Store and More. All floor lamps are all half price. But better hurry, because when all the half price floor lamps are gone, they're gone. Also, all home gym equipment, all 100% cotton printed duvet sets, all prestige kitchenware, and all feather and down duvets and pillows are all still half price. But when they're gone, they're definitely gone. Drop by your local Home Store and More, or visit us online at homestoreandmore.ie. Home Store and More. A happy home.
At Cherrymore Kitchens and Bedrooms, we are now operating out of one new state-of-the-art showroom in Donegal Town. And we invite you to visit our new 5,000 square foot Donegal Town showroom to discover the latest eye-catching designs. Remember, at Cherrymore, you're dealing directly with the manufacturer, which means high-quality kitchens at factory prices. Start planning your dream kitchen or bedroom by calling Cherrymore on 074 9725 822. Cherrymore, 25 years delivering value, quality and service all over Ireland.
Buying or moving home can be a strange mixture of excitement and stress. So the last thing you need is worrying about conveyancing. Time to call McElhenney & Associates. They'll move that property transaction along swiftly, make sure everything's in order and prevent any nasty surprises. Residential, commercial, leasing or voluntary transfer. Call today on 074 917 5989 or find us online. We'll do the paperwork, you do the wallpaper. McElhenney & Associates Solicitors, Stranorlar. How can we help?
Okay, Conor Hawkins of the Irish Business Against Litter Group. Good morning to you, Conor.
Morning, Greg.
Thanks for joining us. Right, okay. The latest set of figures have been released. Just remind us again of when these areas were inspected and what are the criteria?
This was essentially our winter survey. So we surveyed 40 towns and cities across the country last November. Our previous study was in summer, and the two combined give us a final result for 2022. But most of the points are for this winter survey you're talking about today.
Right, Letterkenny is of interest to us. Buncrana is also included in this, is it?
Not this year, no. Buncrana was last year. It fared well, so we've gone back to Letterkenny for 2022, and it has done extremely well.
Mm-hmm. So give us the highlights.
Yeah. Well, generally, in a year when national litter levels fell across the country, Letterkenny claimed a top 10 spot. It was sixth among the 40 towns and cities that we surveyed. A great result. 6 of the 10 sites surveyed got the top litter grade within the town, and there were no heavily littered sites. And that really is a game changer when a town has no C or D grade sites, as we call them. The Central Library, the Upper Main Street and Ballymacool Park, these were top ranking sites, not just in terms of the lack of litter, but the overall presentation of them. And the Antashka surveyors also say Ballymacool Park deserves a special mention as it covers an extensive area and was completely spotless throughout. So
that's decent. That's a decent
creditable performance from Letterkenny.
And what do you think has changed nationally? I think face masks being discarded and other things were a problem in previous reports. What has tended to change nationally?
Well, I think we've left the COVID phase behind us, and that COVID phase was very injurious to a clean environment on a number of levels. I mean, first of all, as you say, we had the PPE litter. That was very widespread. We had outdoor drinking and eating at a greater level than normal. We had the Tidy Towns groups maybe not at full steam. and we had the local authorities hampered in their clean-up. So all in all, it was no surprise that litter levels soared over the COVID period, but thankfully that hasn't persisted, and we're pretty much back to where we were before COVID now.
All right, okay, good stuff. Thanks, Conor. I appreciate your time this morning.
Great,
That's,
thanks, Greg.
Conor Hogan of Irish Business Against Litter. Letterkenny coming out in the top 10, and a particular mention for Ballymacall Park. It covers a big area, of course, and it was completely spotless throughout. Right, okay. Hi, Greg. Just letting you know, a lot of protests in Ireland over the weekend. It wasn't just Brazil, as all Irish media just reported about Brazil. Why is that? I saw a couple of anti-immigrant protests. I didn't see a huge crowd at them in Ireland over the weekend. Is that those? Are those the ones that you're referencing, or was there a bigger protest? Let me know. 086 60 25,000. Prince Harry is telling the truth about the Afghan chess pieces. That's what an invading army does: kill the people where the guerrilla army families live, arrest all the menfolk, and burnt out their homes. I'm not doubting for a second he's telling the truth in that regard. But for someone who can do something that I certainly would not be able to do, but then to get so upset about other little things, I find it quite confusing. Good morning, Gregory. Derrybeg Test Centre. My opinion would be that more drivers are bringing in vehicles unprepared for the test, plus the road conditions to a smaller extent. Our roads are no worse than country roads in other areas of the counties, all counties. That comes in from an Annagry listener. Indeed, and that's the kind of answer I was looking for. I don't know. There has to be a reason for it, though, doesn't it? Another caller says, NCT fail rate. People may be putting the car through the test without getting a pre-test check done. Indeed, I've done that in the past. I'm not going to lie. Whether that's the right or wrong thing to do, always best to be honest. But why would they be doing it more so in Derrybeg, for example, than other places? Is it maybe it's just a wee thing that we do in this area? Hi, Greg. Just wondering if you could highlight the experience we had with NowDoc over the weekend. My wife rang them yesterday at 5 p.m. That's Saturday, I believe. Told them they'd ring back. When they did at 9 p.m., they told us to bring our daughter up for an appointment at 11:15 p.m. So the initial call was made at 5. They landed then at NowDoc at 11:15 p.m. So they did. And this morning, that's Sunday morning, the doctor at 1:30 a.m. Sunday morning, the doctor came in and said he was going out on a call and didn't know when he would be back, so we just had to come home. And I had a few contacts from people who tried to access the NowDoc service. Some had a long wait but still got seen, but in that case, obviously, it was an open-ended time frame, and at 1:30 in the morning, they decided they had to take their daughter home. Any similar experiences you wish to share? 07491 25,000. Greg, there's something suspicious, or what, this whole thing about a shortage of antibiotic tablets, medicines, etc. It's a worry, and at the end of the day, this can be fatal. It's money, right? It's money. Okay, this comes down to money in my view. We get the majority of our drugs, the very important drugs, from one supplier. There is a global shortage because an awful lot of people are getting sick at the same time. And we pay less than an awful lot of other countries might for their drugs. So when everyone's competing for drugs, where's little old Ireland compared to, a really big country that's buying them en masse? That is, as far as I can determine it, from what I've been reading and what have you, part of the problem. I don't think there's any control going on here in terms of trying to limit supply or anything like that there. A caller says, age discrimination is alive and well in Ireland. Apply for social welfare benefits and be under the age of 25 and see the difference. Or go to work at 18 and see what you get. The minimum wage has just recently gone up. Someone who's 18 gets a certain amount. Someone who's 19 gets a certain amount, 20, and then it's 21 before you get your full amount. What's the difference between an 18-year-old adult out working? But you see, this is happening. This is the state that's doing this to young people. What's the difference between an 18 or 19-year-old out working their socks off? Let me put it like that, compared to a 21-year-old, as if because you're 2 years older, you've got less financial responsibility, or your rent is less if you're 18. I don't think it's because you're more likely to be living at home, because I think people are living at home well into their 20s now. So there's another form of, you could argue, state-sponsored discrimination. Right, let's take a break. Back with more in the 9 till noon show after these.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union. Digital loans now available. Apply online or via our app today and get your loan transferred directly to your current account.
For day-to-day healthcare needs, generations have trusted the experienced staff at McGee's Chemist Letterkenny. From coughs and colds to aches and pains, from vitamin supplements to first aid essentials. McGee's have what you need when you need it, with a full prescription service available daily. McGee's Chemist, Main Street, Letterkenny. For healthcare help and advice you can always trust.
Toyota Relax, our new service-activated warranty, is now available at Kelly's Toyota Letterkenny and Mount Charles. Whether you bought your Toyota from us, a classified ad, or your auntie, once it's less than 10 years old with under 185,000 kilometres, you will get a 12-month warranty when you get your service at Kelly's Toyota, Letterkenny or Mount Charles. For more, search Toyota Relax. Toyota. Built for a better world. Terms and conditions apply.
See the great new collection of Aqua Clean suites now at McGinley's Furniture in Letterkenny. Aqua Clean is a unique fabric treatment that allows you to clean stains using only water, and these Irish-made suites can be made to measure. Also see McGinley's huge range of corner groups, recliners and leather suites. Transform your house into the home of your dreams at McGinley's Furniture on the Joe Boner Link Road, Letterkenny, and at mcginleysfurniture.com.
Bingo every Monday night at Halfway House Bingo Burnfoot. Doors open at 7:30 with eyes down at 8:30. €2,500 must go. The snowball is now €1,650 on 45 numbers or less. If you're not in, you can't win. That's Halfway House Bingo tonight at 8:30.
I've just had the Eclipse Cinemas experience. Wow, they truly have taken a night at the movies to a whole new level. Amazing recliner chairs, director's lounge VIP rooms, pizza and hot food served to your seat. Have a glass of wine and enjoy the film on the big screen. Try it for yourself at Eclipse Cinemas, Bundoran and Lifford Strabane, where the stars shine brighter. By the way, the pizzas are amazing. You can book your seat anytime at eclipsecinemas.ie.
Highland Radio weather updates with Ireland West Airport. Thinking of a sun holiday this summer with the family? Fly to Alicante, Malaga, Faro, Lanzarote, Mallorca and Milan with Ryanair. Ireland West Airport. Don't just take off, take it easy.
All right, a blustery day today with fresh to strong and gusty westerly winds, a mix of scattered showers and sunny spells through the day, with showers becoming more isolated by nightfall, highs of 6 to 8 degrees. Now, we're joined on the programme by Councillor Martin Harley, who has his businessman hat on with us today. Good morning, Martin. How are you keeping? I can't hear you, Martin. I wonder, are you muted or am I having a problem with my system? No, you're not. Right, I'll tell you what I'll do. I will kick you out and then invite you back in again, because we just can't hear you at the moment. No, we can't. Okay. Right, 086 60 25,000, that's the number. Can you hear me, Martin, just one last time? Sorry? No, we can't. Okay, that's fine. We'll get you back just in a moment, Martin. Thank you for your time. We're going to be discussing... the cost of energy for small businesses. If that's a conversation you want to get involved in, 086 60 25,000, or as I say, call 074 91 25,000, 074 91 25,000. A caller says, I would be thinking that the hotel would only be delighted with young people with disposable income to come in with nothing else to spend their money on except food and drink for that night and breakfast the next day, plus the cost of the room, but they are at a function elsewhere, so in terms of that spend, it might not be quite as high. The problem is, Greg, it's a prom they're going to, not a wedding. Nobody stays over at a hotel after a prom. If anything happened to that woman's daughter at the prom, she would be the first to complain about it, they say there. More of your comments coming in here. They cancelled 5 days out on them. A lot of angry parents, a lot of us that have supported hotels over the years. It won't be forgotten. This is our generation coming This is our generation coming up that are doing this, that they are doing this to, I beg your pardon. In a few years, they'll be the one booking weddings, keeping hotels going. But if they don't want their business now, I'm sure it won't be forgotten. Isn't it great that they don't seem to need the business there? And one more here. As an elderly person who turns 91 this month, I get so angry when I'm referred to as a burden on the state. I, my husband and family have worked all our lives and paid our taxes. There is no greater fear for me than ending up in ED for any reason. But should I end up there, I'm entitled to be treated and given a bed for whatever length of time I need it without being made feel guilty. And I really go out of my way in this programme to try and ensure people don't feel like that. Good morning, Martin Harley. How are you?
Good morning, Greg.
Yeah, it's good to have you on the show. Right, okay. You're calling for radical measures by the government to support small and medium businesses this winter. What is the reality for businesses at the moment? Right, actually, we're going to have to switch to the phone. I beg your pardon, Martin. My apologies. We'll switch to the telephone there. We'll get him back now in a second. Great start to a Monday morning. Technical problems. As I say, it happens from time to time. It's not Martin's fault, it's our fault, but we'll endeavour to get that sorted. We'll get him on the phone very, very shortly. That gives me a chance to go back to your comments here. Greg, the back road from Castlefin to Killygordon at the Creameries has had the road signs changed. The stop signs have been put in place on all 4 roads, so all traffic lanes have to stop. And yesterday, a woman coming from Ballabuffe didn't stop because she was so used to going on and nearly drove through me. If these signs don't change, someone is going to be killed. That's something we'll keep an eye on and have another look at that. Right, sorry about that, Martin. Thanks for joining us. Right, so what is the lived experience of small and medium-sized businesses at the moment in terms of costs and overheads?
Yeah, well, I suppose I done a piece there last week on papers about cost of energy cost to businesses and the massive effect it's having on them. A lot of businesses, I feel myself, will go to the wall within the next 3 months unless there's help given very shortly. During the budget, they brought out a scheme, the TBESS scheme, which was to help small businesses, where they would get 40% off any increase in their ESB back to them. But this scheme, to me, has become it's too complicated, and it's costing businesses money because they're having so much work done through their bookkeepers that it's going to cost more than it's really worth to them. So instead of giving them, what I'd be saying is, instead of giving them 40% of the difference, just give them 25% of their overall bill back. This was due to come into force from the 1st September 2022 up until the end of February 2023. But a lot of businesses now are, from what I'm listening to from the VFI, from other businesses within the Twin Towns and from across the county, is that they won't survive because their ESB costs on top of everything else is just crippling them.
And I think too, for a lot of the businesses that we're talking about, they don't have the profit margins at the best of times to absorb the type of interests we're talking, the type of increases we're talking about here.
We don't know because ESB, just for example, unit prices of ESB went from something like, say, 19 cents a unit early last year to they're up maybe over 72, 73 cents at the moment, which is absolutely crazy. People's bills have gone up 150, 200%. And you take, I read an article lately sent to me from the Craft Butchers Association of Ireland, and they're like, quite part of their is refrigeration and all that there, which they're using massive amounts of electricity all the time, and it's going to cripple the Craft Butchers Organisations of Ireland, as well as members of the VFI, who I represent as treasurer in County Donegal. And I just worry that there's no point in trying to get businesses back open again whenever they've closed. They need the support now to keep them going, to get them through this period. And let's be realistic as well. ESB prices are not going to come down until, I feel, from looking at the world markets, till the spring of next year. So we need to put something in place that's going to be in place for up to the next 14 months to get businesses through this period. And suppose, in fairness, we have to thank the government because during the COVID pandemic, there was a lot of good work done to keep businesses afloat. But we have another pandemic and energy at the moment that needs to be looked at immediately.
I mean, there are some though that suggest that your time frame for prices coming down is perhaps optimistic. The problem is this might be a multi-year issue. We simply don't know what's going to happen. Things could actually, get worse before. I mean, we've had for instance, we've had a milder winter. That is always going to have some sort of an impact. And there are some reserves of gas around Europe and this type of stuff that's used for energy creation. The wind's blowing quite hard at the moment, which is also good for us. But I think things actually could get worse before they improve. I don't want to be a doom merchant, but they certainly could. So realistically, can the government come in to try and keep all the businesses that you're talking of, keep their heads above water for a prolonged period of time? In other words, maybe it's just kicking the can down the road through a very expensive practice. That sounds horrible for me, but you know what I mean.
No, well, see, it's not alone just the businesses. We're talking about all the staff that's employed within these businesses as well, that the jobs will be gone. I mean, there's a massive roll-on effect to other businesses. When one business is closed, it's going to affect maybe 2 or 3 other businesses that are supplying that business. So this is something that we're not really kicking the can down the road. This energy crisis will last till next, because world energy prices were set on the world market in June of last year for 2 years. So we're looking at June 24. We may get a reprieve prior to that, but that's realistic. That's the time frame that we're looking at. As you say, the war in Ukraine, if it goes on further or escalates, and we have a problem getting gas and out of Russia, then that could be a bigger problem again. Yeah. It could go down the road longer.
And also too, like the system for the support for households was very, very simple. In fact, maybe too simple. It could have been slightly more targeted. But with businesses, it's very complicated, especially small businesses. As you say, that maybe they can't do all of this stuff themselves. An awful lot of hoops to have to go through. Even the terminology, maybe it's simple to people in business, but the claim periods being described as or a reference period. This is complicated, and then you have to, of course, be 100% tax compliant as well. So you already have to be a business that is able to meet all of those demands as far as.
But just
go ahead.
Yeah, but just make it a simple thing, Greg. This 40% of the difference. So if your bill went up by 100%, then you get 40% of that 100% went up. But just give them, as I say, I'm just picking a figure off the top of my head, at 25%. Give them 25% of their bill. So they just put their bill in along with their accounts, and the accountant knows to take 25% off that bill. Very simple. There's no extra paperwork in it for the businesses or for the accountants or bookkeepers. So I think to me it could be very simplified and make it at least every business would know exactly what they're getting back, and they can work their costs accordingly to that. At this stage, they don't actually know what way they're going to get back, what they're going to get back, and when they're going to get it back.
When do you think we're going to start seeing businesses go to the wall? I mean, for how long? We've had that busy Christmas period, and I hope a lot of the businesses we're talking about did really well. But now we're heading into what can be the quieter January, February. Maybe, things might uptick depending on the business in March. But in 30 seconds, how long do you think it will be before we start seeing businesses closing because of this?
I don't think we'll see much once we go into February. I think once people start seeing they're doing their tax returns for the November, December, and then they're looking at the figures for the January, February, that they're going to say to themselves, well, really, is this realistic? What are we going to go on? Or are we going to keep pumping our own savings back into the business?
Okay.
So I just feel that we come to the end of January, mid-February, that I can see businesses closing, and that's a sad reality of it out there, and that's what I'm listening to from businesses.
All right, Martin, thanks for your time this morning. Thanks for working through those technical issues with us. I appreciate it. Back with more after the news and obituary notices.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, with monster loans available up to €60,000 for all occasions. Visit letterkennycu.ie.
I hear you some wiring needs a fixing, ma'am. The name's Buzz, on account of my work.
No chance.
Not all cowboys ride horses. All safe electric registered electrical contractors must give you a certificate of completion that shows their work meets approved standards. Find one nearby on safeelectric.ie.
Your next move matters, so why not move better? Start your move to permanent TSB today. Apply in-app for our award-winning current account. So don't just move bank. Move better. Apply in-app today. Applications for Explore Current Account in-app for over 18 personal customers. Qualifying criteria, fees and charges, terms and conditions apply. Awarded bonkers.ie Best Current Account 2022. Permanent TSB PLC is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Keep out the cold this winter and ring Fleming for their full range of garage doors, agri doors, insulated doors, milking parlour doors. Fleming, 91 48 234.
A public interest message from Donegal County Council. Donegal County Council would like to remind farmers that the closed period for the land spreading of slurry does not end until the 1st of February. Every effort should be made to manage storage capacity until then by diverting clean roof or storm water to drains and watercourses and keeping it out of tanks. Once the spreading period reopens, farmers and contractors should wait for favourable spreading conditions and not apply slurry to land which is waterlogged, flooded, likely to flood, or if rain is forecast within 48 hours. Clean water is everybody's business. Donegal County Council, protecting the environment.
The massive January sale at Shoppa Wyaned Gidor is now on. Everything in store is reduced. Pick up a bargain today at Shoppa Wyaned Gidor.
A public interest message from Donegal County Council. Donegal County Council would like to remind farmers that the closed period for the land spreading of slurry does not end until the 1st of February. Every effort should be made to manage storage capacity until then by diverting clean roof or storm water to drains and watercourses and keeping it out of tanks. Once the spreading period reopens, farmers and contractors should wait for favourable spreading conditions and not apply slurry to land which is waterlogged, flooded, likely to flood, or if rain is forecast within 48 hours. Clean water is everybody's business. Donegal County Council, protecting the environment.
The massive January sale at Shoppa Wyaned Gidor is now on. Everything in store is reduced. Pick up a bargain today at Shoppa Wyaned Gidor.
My New Year's resolution is to be nicer to myself and treat myself to a new car from iMotors. With every size vehicle and engine type available, you'd be mad to not treat yourself. There's petrol, diesel, hybrid and electric. We have it all. Call in today or visit imotors.ie.
Live, on air, online and on the Highland Radio app. This is Highland Radio News.
Good morning, just gone 10 o'clock. Donald Kavanagh at the Highland Radio News Desk. There's been some relief to the record numbers seen waiting on hospital trolleys in recent days. However, the HSC's clinical lead, Dr. Colm Henry, says the country hasn't yet peaked when it comes to winter flu. According to the Health Service, 319 people were waiting on trolleys in emergency departments this morning. That's down 274 compared to the same day last week. Now, the INMO's figures, which also include people in chairs and other inappropriate settings on wards, haven't yet been published. Dr. Colm Henry says although this shift is positive, we are by no means out of the crisis.
Some relief since last Tuesday. We saw a really very severe high of trolleys and people waiting at huge amounts of times in emergency departments and people waiting to be seen and assessed in the first place. There were clear safety concerns. Our staff responded with extraordinary commitment. Over the weekend we saw people working weekends back to back. I witnessed myself in the Cork University Hospital the extraordinary commitment of managers, doctors, nurses.
The NCT test centre in Derrybeg had the lowest pass rate of any centre in the country last year. Deansgrange in South Dublin had the highest. The figures compiled by independent.ie also reveal a total of 14 test centres had pass rates below 50%. In Donegal, all 3 test centres returned pass rates that were below the national average of 54.3%. Donegal Town's pass rate was 51%, Letterkenny's 46.4% and Derrybeg's was 40%. Well, Sean O'Donoghue is a motoring journalist with CompleteCar.ie. He says it's possible that tougher road conditions and greater mileage travelled could have had an impact on the Donegal results.
We don't have the data to support it, but the thing is that in that area, the roads are a little bit worse. People are driving longer. They're driving more on rural roads than they would, for example, in Deansgrange in the middle of Dublin. So the cars are subjected to harsher conditions, I suppose, more of the time.
A Sinn Féin MLA in Derry has condemned a sectarian attack on homes in the Fountain Estate at the weekend and is urging anyone with information to immediately bring it forward to the PSNI. With more detail, here's Donna Marie Doherty.
Police say on Saturday evening they received a report that a number of rocks had been thrown at two houses shortly before 4:45 by a group of young people. Foyle MLA Patrick Delargy described the attack as reprehensible and sectarian, saying children narrowly escaped serious injury when rocks were thrown through the window of their home. He concluded there is no place for sectarianism in Derry and the people of the city want and their children.
Nason County Kildare has won the Irish Business Against Litter Award for the second year in a row. Letterkenny came in sixth and is deemed to be cleaner than European norms, with Ballymacool Town Park coming in for particular praise. On today's 9 till noon show, IBAL's Conor Horgan said Letterkenny has done very well this time.
6 of the 10 sites surveyed got the top litter grade within the town, and there were no heavily littered sites, and that really is a game changer. The Central Library, the Upper Main Street and Ballymacool Park, these were top ranking sites, not just in terms of the lack of litter, but the overall presentation of them. The Ontashka surveyors also say Ballymacool Park deserves a special mention as it covers an extensive area and was completely spotless.
Concerns been expressed at what's been described as persistent reckless driving along the Strabane bypass close to Orchard Road Junction. The Vice Chair of the Derry and Strabane Policing and Community Partnership, Paul Boggs, has urged the drivers involved to desist and show consideration for residents and other road users. He says he's been contacted by residents in College Grove and the Orchard in relation to the ongoing incidents. He says they're endangering the lives of the local community as well as people using the A5.
The Orchard Road Industrial sits just adjacent to the A5, a very busy road, and this kind of behaviour is happening late at night. It's often happened when the lights of cars are off, and then when other cars approach, the people behind these activities are making their way off at high speed. So the actual activity itself is very, very dangerous, whereby people are donutting, for want of a better word, in the middle of busy roads, in the dark, and built up areas where there are residential settings all around.
Weather forecast blustery today with fresh to strong and gusty westerly winds. A mix of scattered showers and sunny spells through the day. Those showers becoming more isolated by nightfall. Highs of 6 to 8 degrees Celsius with winds easing this evening. And that's Island Radio News. We're back with local news again at 11 o'clock. Until then, from the news team, have a very good morning. The obituary notices for this Monday morning, the 9th of January. The death has taken place of John Patrick Moore, Main Street Convoy. His remains are reposing at Terence McClintock's funeral home Convoy. Strictly private, please, at the request of the deceased. Funeral from there tomorrow afternoon at 1:15, travelling via Main Street Convoy and proceeding to Lakeland's crematorium Cavan for private cremation. The death has occurred of Mary Doherty, the butcher, Malin Road, Culdaff. Her remains are reposing at her late residence. Funeral from there tomorrow morning at 10:30, going to St Mary's Church, Buchan for 11 o'clock Requiem Mass, with interment afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. Mary's funeral mass can be viewed live at churchmedia.tv. The death has taken place of Sandra Burke, née Campbell, 63, Inishcarn Road, Derry. Her remains are reposing at her late home with family time, please, from 10 p.m. tonight. Funeral from there at 9:15 tomorrow morning for 10 o'clock Requiem Mass in St Mary's Church, Cregan, with interment afterwards in the city cemetery. Family flowers only, please. Donations in lieu if desired to Foyle Hospice, care of McLaughlin Funeral Directors, Dungiven. The death has taken place of Sean Colhoun, Transala St Johnson. His remains are reposing at his late residence. Funeral from there tomorrow morning at 10:30, going to St Bathan's Church, St Johnson for 11 o'clock Requiem Mass. Burial afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. The death has taken place of Hugo O'Lone, 6 Rosemount, Kilmacrennan. Funeral from there this morning to St Columba's Church, Kilmacrennan for 11 o'clock Requiem Mass, followed by burial in the adjoining cemetery. The death has taken place of Gary Crossan, Creetland St Johnson, formerly of Glenfad, Port Hall. Funeral from his home this morning at 10:20 for Requiem Mass in St Bathan's Church, St Johnson at 11 o'clock. Interment afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. Donations in lieu of flowers, please, to the Donegal Hospice, care of Quigley Funeral Directors. The death has occurred of Cecil Nixon, the Raws, Castlefin. Service of thanksgiving for Cecil's life will be conducted at his late residence this afternoon at 1:30. Interment afterwards in St Mary's Cemetery, Castlefin at approximately 2:00. The house and funeral are private, please. The death has taken place of Eileen Gallagher, O'Gara Villas, Moville. Funeral from her home this morning at 10:30 for 11:00 funeral mass in St Pius X Church, Moville, followed by burial in Ballybrack Cemetery. Eileen's funeral mass can be viewed on movilleparish.com. The death has occurred of Donald McGee, Upper Slavery, Buncrana. Removal from his home this morning at 10:15, going to St Mary's Church, Cockhill for Requiem Mass at 11:00, followed by interment in the adjoining cemetery. Family flowers only, please. And the death has taken place of Olive Brennan, née McGill, Cloughlin, Castlefin. Remains reposing at her home. Funeral from there this morning at 11:25 for Requiem Mass in St Mary's Church, Castlefin at 12 noon. Interment afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. Donations in lieu of flowers, please, to the Faithful Companions of Jesus, care of Quigley Funeral Directors. The Requiem Mass can be viewed live via St Mary's Church, Castlefin on YouTube. For more details, including any family health guidelines for wakes and funerals, please go to highlandradio.com.
Watch the show live now.
It's flu season, and children are twice as likely as adults to catch the flu, which can sometimes cause serious illness. That's why all children aged 2 to 17 can get their free nasal spray flu vaccine, a safe and effective way to protect them, and the rest of your family too. So make an appointment with your GP or pharmacist. Visit hsc.ie/flu for more information. From the HSC.
Text or WhatsApp your view to Greg on 086 60 25,000.
Welcome back to the programme. Good morning if you're just joining us. Some of your comments coming in so far. Martin Harley sounds very concerned about rising costs. Who voted to rise property tax on pensioners? Another, tell Martin Harley he voted to up the property tax and us locals didn't forget it. Hi Greg, always get a pre-NCT before my NCT test, and for the last 20 years I've only passed one, so these pre-NCT means nothing. Thanks Greg, thank you very much indeed. Again, why would it be something that happens particularly in one particular area or a number of particular areas? Because if that's the reason, then it's not happening everywhere. It just happens in certain communities. Is it possible to get a mention on the radio? Heartbroken child missing a pet since Thursday in the Letterkenny area. It's a male Bichon Frise called Toby. It's wearing a blue collar. Okay, so let's see if we can sort this out on Radio Land. A child, obviously you can imagine, very, very distressed. They're missing a male Bichon Frise. I think that's the correct pronunciation. It's called Toby. And the wee fella's wearing a blue collar. If you've seen or found this dog, please get in touch with us and we can pass it on to its owner. So I'll say it just one more time. A male Bichon Frise called Toby wearing a blue collar. Our number 07491 25,000. It'd be lovely to deliver some good news to that family this morning, so see what we can do. Right, good luck if you're playing the bingo numbers. Back with our next item after these.
It's time for NCBI Bingo on Highland Radio.
It's Monday the 9th of January. You're playing on the green sheet. The reference number is S6. It's game number 2. The numbers are 42, 71, 19, 89, 69, 78, 85, 90, 23, and finally 40. Phone your claim to 9104833 before 8 o'clock tonight, leaving your name, contact number and the name of the shop where you purchased your book, and we'll call you back the next working day. Get all your NCBI bingo information at highlandradio.com.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union. Now offering MyCU current account and debit MasterCard, bringing full banking features, delivered with the same local trustworthy service of your credit union.
Thinking about joining AIB? What if by changing your bank, you could also change the way you bank? Just watch. At AIB, we don't make technology for you to bank. We make it for you to live, with all your everyday banking needs at your fingertips. Joining AIB takes just a few simple steps. Discover how to become a customer by visiting aib.ie. AIB, we back doing. Allied Irish Banks plc is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Winter sale at Brian McCormick Sports now on. In-store and online. Discounts of up to 30% off. Asics, New Balance, Brooks and Hoka footwear. GT2000, Gel Cumulus, New Balance 880, Hoka Clifton 8 to name just a few. Treat your feet in our winter sale. Grab a discount and stretch those legs. Look the part, play the part. In-store and online. Click and collect on bmcsports.ie.
Sheridan Security, now introducing zero-wire smart alarm systems. Zero wire, zero mess, and a real peace of mind. With a simple press of a button, your alarm can be set or unset, or download the free app and control it from your phone. Call us today on 074 912 6025 and get your alarm from €299. Stay local, stay safe, and protect what you value most with Sheridan Security Systems.
For all your training needs, Northwest Forestry Services Training Department Ballybuffet offer a wide range of courses from training bodies such as NPTC City and Guilds, QQI, LADRA and ABA International. Courses include all land-based services such as chainsaw, tree climbing and rescue, pesticides, working in heights and ATV training. Other courses offered include first aid responder, manual handling and building safety, to name but a few. For a full list of training courses and availability, contact Northwest Forestry Services Ballybuffet on 074 9132033.
Okay, you're very welcome back to the programme. On tweet, we welcome the CEO of Letterkenny Chamber, Tony Forrester. Good morning, Tony.
Morning, Greg. How are you?
Great to have you on the show. I'm good, thank you very much indeed. Okay, so it's being framed as Letterkenny businesses facing 6 weeks of a road closure. What is being proposed by Irish Water? And then we'll tease it out to see how disruptive it might be, Tony.
Well, it's kind of not proposed, it's happening. So as of today, there will be a road closure in place for between Ard O'Donnell, I'm going to say Ard O'Donnell New Line, right down to the junction at Gallard, Madigan's Hotel Courthouse.
Right.
So essentially what they're doing is they're doing 2 sections of work, New Line to Ard O'Donnell and New Line to the junction.
That's the bit I was on about being proposed, the programme of works.
Right.
Yeah, so is the road going to be completely closed at any point, Tony, or?
Yes, it is. My understanding is the second part, New Line to the junction, will be closed completely. But they will open it at weekends. They're trying to keep it smooth and pedestrian access is allowed for the whole time. My understanding.
Now, this was due to take place in August, wasn't it? But it's been pushed back to now.
Yeah, we had a sort of very fraught meeting, I have to say, in July, when we heard that it was going to happen in August when they were doing the Church Lane work. And that really, really wouldn't have suited anyone. Particularly, there's hospitality businesses up there, and they were getting very short notice. So we brokered a large meeting with people, and to be fair to Irish Water, they said, right, we'll put it off to January. Now, Letterkenny's busy. It's always busy. And we know towards the end of the week it gets busier. So there will be disruption, and I don't think there's any way around that. I suppose our point is we're digging it up now. Let's not see it being dug up again by Irish Water in anywhere, or Donegal County Council for that matter, in the near future.
Right, okay. So, and we have to be careful too, not we, this is the royal we, so to speak, in that highlighting, right, it is going to cause some disruption. But, obviously, if you're going to have a reliable water service, work is going to have to be carried out. And also to, and much was made of traffic issues in the lead up to Christmas. But Letterkenny businesses enjoyed a bumper Christmas period, if I understand that correctly. So really, what we're talking about here is from a consumer's perspective, just in some cases, a little bit of patience that the journey will be worth it in the end, I suppose.
I think that's all we would ask people, to have a little bit of patience. We did push that there would be a sign that you can't do a right turn up into High Road, because I think that would be a push point for people when they're driving up Port Road and realise they can't turn. But the VMS, the electronic signage, has been up since before Christmas, explaining that it'll be closed. But there is local access. Remember, Social Welfare Building up there, Max Mace up there, all of that, and Honeypot and all the other businesses can be accessed. You just maybe need to think a wee bit more about where to park, how to get there. We understand as well that Irish Water are putting 3 traffic management operatives, so real people, in place to help people if they're confused about where to go. So that will be, I think, a new line, a hospital roundabout, and probably at the bottom of High Road as well.
I mean, even if I'm leaving Highland and I'm looking to access the main street, that's not my preferred road in any case. And I just wonder, without that road coming down to that junction, if we could, I mean, obviously it's an inconvenience to the businesses on that road. If motorists, it might not have that big a detrimental impact actually on the movement of traffic.
I think it's really just thinking about it. So I think the problem is if you don't realise and you get stuck and then you have to turn or go another way, that becomes a frustration to people because they think it's taking longer. But I think the preferred route, they would say, is go back down De Valera Road, I'm going to say.
You're barking up the wrong tree if you're looking for any. We're going to have to get Donal or Caroline in here, because I'll tell you, and it's not just Letterkenny, I am useless when it comes to road names. But down past the fire station?
Yeah, De Valera Road and then up Port Road again. And that will get you to the main street.
Right, okay.
And I'm not belittling this, I really do. It does cause problems, and people are used to the routes, they're used to the way they go places. And all we can do is work with Irish Water. We have said to them, if problems occur that we didn't expect, we need to see a change.
And I think too, if people turning off the hospital roundabout onto that road, if they're not advised at that point very, very clearly that they're not going to be able to access the main street, I think that would be really, really helpful, Tony. And that's what the operatives you talk of, presumably that will be part of their role.
That is part of their role. And also the signage will be up as well. What we don't want is people to think you can't use High Road at all, there's no access to anything, because there's lots of services in that road. Credit Union as well, I should have mentioned, Orchard Inn. There's loads of services there that people need. They will be able to access those without a problem. And I think even coming down, they can access as far down as the closure is. So you'll be able to see it. It'll be very visible.
Yeah, and Irish
we hope it'll be done in 6 weeks. We hope it says 6 weeks. They were hoping for 3 weeks of one section and 2 weeks of the other, so 5. If it can be done as quick as possible, we're pushing for that.
And the argument Irish Water are making, and I think it's understandable, that they see this as a critical step in conserving our precious resource, that is water, and reducing high levels of leakage, which have been a significant source of disruption and outage for customers. So in other words, people losing the water, but also at times ad hoc road closures that have to happen to do with leakages. So as you say, we get that, but as soon as you can, less than 6 weeks as possible, and just keep the information and the traffic moving as much as is possible.
And the contractor has said he will email us once a week that we can put out to people. And really that's if something unusual is happening. They have talked to, from what I can see, they've been on the ground and they've been talking to all the businesses in the area. And we had some of them on Zoom calls and some of them not. So they've walked in and talked to everyone, and residents. You have to remember there's residents there. As well. So, and there may be some outages at some stage, but they've said they'll give 2 days notice.
Right. Just reflecting on Christmas, so the numbers in, Tony, what are your members and non-members, of course, you hear from all different businesses, not directly in Letterkenny as well, but what's the feedback coming from that hugely important Christmas period?
It seemed to be busy. People were quite happy from what I can gather with sales. We had a little meeting in here the other day, and most of them were saying they were busy the whole of Christmas and actually the week after as well. So we know from our observations that the town was very busy. This whole area here was busy for the few weeks before Christmas. So it looks like sales were good. I suppose all the doom and gloom we've had over the last while haven't transpired as badly as we thought.
Well, that's good. That is good. And also, too, with the massive uptake with Shop LK vouchers, too, that money's hopefully going to be spent post-Christmas. So, I mean, it's a really clever initiative when you think about it.
It really was. Whoever invented it all those years ago was very clever. It wasn't me.
But you know what it does is it's that spend that spend then goes into 2023, yeah?
We would hope, Greg, that money is all spent locally, and we would hope to this week tell you our sales figures ourselves. So we'll be coming hopefully on air.
You have them already. Just tell us now.
I'm not telling you now. I haven't counted them yet at all.
A caller says, which is good. A caller says, Greg, will the turn off to the Garda station be closed if coming from the hospital direction? I'm thinking on school runs. I know you're not here to talk about that. I just wondered, do you know off the top of your head?
My understanding is that you can access New Line Road. So I think it's okay. Now, bear in mind, we have a one-way system as well for the schools. So I would just tease it out the first day and see what happens.
Okay, right. All right, that's the info. And it's a live situation, and I think with anything, it's a suck it and see. We have to wait and see how it works. But you're getting good, strong commitments that the contractor's going to communicate with you, and that if changes need to be made, if it can be tweaked, it will be. So all we can do is just hope for the best and wait and see. Yeah. And if it requires to support those businesses in that area, and if you're able to, if it requires walking a little bit to keep the money going through their tills, I think that would be very greatly appreciated as well.
And also, maybe ring in advance if you're going to one of them and you feel, I don't know whether it's going to work for me, ring up and ask them.
All right. Take care of yourself. Thanks for your time, as always.
Thanks, Greg.
All right. That's Tony Forrester there, CEO of Letterkenny Chamber. So, as I say, we shall see what comes from that. Hi, Greg. Just wondering if you could mention the Forward Festival on your show. My 17-year-old daughter bought a ticket for €60. However, the festival was cancelled due to the Creeslot tragedy. She emailed them twice looking for her money back and did not receive a reply. They have not put up any update on their social media also. Right. Okay, so we have an update here from the festival organisers, I believe. And they say, we are delighted that we are now in a position to announce the rescheduled dates for the Friday show. This is going to happen on Wednesday, that's the day after tomorrow, whereby ticket holders will receive an email as per the information provided in November. Following the announcement to ticket holders on the new date, which has obviously took some time to try and pull together, given the logistics that goes with organising a festival, ticket holders can either hold on to their ticket or they can get a full refund. They thank everyone for their patience and understanding and are now delighted to have been able to get through everything to make this happen. So on Wednesday, the organisers of the festival will announce the rescheduled date. If that doesn't suit your daughter or any of the rest of you who contacted us, then at that point you'll be able to apply for a full refund. And that's off the back of a number of inquiries we got. Okay, so you'll know Wednesday. It might suit them to go to the new festival or you'll get a refund. We'll stay on top of that, by the way, just to make sure everything is processed as has been committed to there. 08660 25,000 if you want to react to that. Morning, another area where young people are discriminated against is car insurance. A minority of reckless young people drag them all down. Same with the rally. Why should a private hotel take the chance that the group staying is going to misbehave? The 48% or 49% young drivers premium. It's shocking, really, but it's accepted. Greg, can I just say that I work in hospitality and serve young people all the time, and I've said always the young people are the most well-behaved, respectful people to serve. It's mostly the older customers who can be quite rude and disrespectful. That's my experience too.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union. Simplify your debts with a debt consolidation loan from Letterkenny Credit Union. Call us on 074 910 2126 or apply online via our app or in office today.
There's still time to experience the unmissable magic of winter in Dublin. Come celebrate our rich culture and heritage this January. Take to the heart of the city for Tradfest Temple Bar, from cosy pub sessions to intimate performances in historical hotspots. Or why not immerse yourself in art and culture at any of Dublin's free national museums? There's so much to see and do this January. Winter in Dublin. It's magic. Make your plans today at visitdublin.com. Brought to you by Fáilte Ireland.
Crawford Tiles and More Castlefin. January sale now on. Great discounts in store with up to 20% off tiles, bathware, flooring, plumbing, lights, vinyl and carpet. Job lots on display for sale. Delivery and fitting available. Crawford Tiles and More Castlefin. 9143942. January sale now on. Miss it and miss out.
Further lines added in McElhenney's biggest ever winter sale. Grab your bargain of the year with huge savings on fashion, footwear, homeware and much more. Explore the collection online or visit us in store for this unmissable sale event. Don't wait around, as when these amazing offers are gone, they're gone. Hurry, the McElhenney's winter sale must end soon.
Donegal Denture Clinic, Letterkenny. Denture problems? We can help. At Donegal Denture Clinic, we customise, personalise and tailor your dentures to suit you. Call us for a free consultation on 91 25 25 3. Find us at Ballyrain, Letterkenny, beside Rossin College. Medical cards welcome. For all your denture needs, call Donegal Denture Clinic on 91 25 25 3. Online at donegaldentureclinic.ie.
Green Shoes' big winter sale is now on with massive reductions. Up to 50% off across your favourite brands, including Echo, Tommy Bow, Kate Appleby, Una Healy and many more. Make big savings on big name footwear. Shop LK and one for all gift cards accepted. Green Shoes at Market Square, Letterkenny Shopping Centre and in Fulcara. Or shop online at greenshoes.com with up to 50% off in the big winter sale now on.
Just a reminder of the contact numbers for you: 08660 25000, 08660 25000, or give us a call on 07491 25000. Hello, Greg. A couple of points about the prom night. First, fair play to the businesses able to turn business away. They must be doing well. And fair play to the young ones being able to stay a night after the prom. I mean, that positive. Ireland is a good country in which to live, they say. Another, I know I wouldn't want my son or daughter staying in a hotel, especially after a college prom. I think it's safer to pick them up. I live 12 miles from town. I always pick them up. I don't care what time. It's a huge deal, the end of secondary school, but a lot of students are only 17 and just turned 18, and they will all be over celebrating. Parents take responsibility for these young people. I had 4 young people celebrating, and I'm so glad they came home. I understand, but there are some that might think that's helicopter parenting a little bit. You know, that maybe 17, 18, 19-year-olds, particularly 18, 19-year-olds, maybe we be overprotective of them. Shame on that hotel for how they treat our well-educated young people. Why take the booking? Well, a lot of these come through third-party sites, in fairness. Should have it up on their webpage that they are not taking young groups. Is it any wonder our young ones are leaving in their hundreds? Those young girls won't forget how they were discriminated against, and rightly so. Hi, Greg. It's the same for 18th birthday parties. It's a joke trying to get somewhere. It's not fair. Nowhere in our local town wants them. Okay, I think we can say good morning now to Mary T. Sweeney. Mary T., can you hear me okay? But I can't hear you, unfortunately, and it's I don't know if that's your problem or our problem, but it's happened a couple of times this morning. We shall try that once more, and if that doesn't work, we shall switch to the phone. Hi, Greg. Can the hotel not take €20 off parents, and if no damage is done? Yes, I have you there, Mary T. Sorry, I'll come back to that comment. Mary T. Sweeney, can you hear me okay now? You can.
Yeah, I can hear you, Greg.
Lovely stuff. Right. Okay, now, you are, of course, a Donegal rep for Aintu. Your party is organising a national day of protest on January 21st. Tell us about the day of protest.
The campaign, Greg, is not an Aintu campaign. It's a cross-party, cross-community campaign. It's desperately needed, not just to reflect Letterkenny's concerns, but across the country as well. And really, I had several people have been contacting me in recent days, weeks and months about their concerns about the hospital. And it's been best summed up by that very brave nurse, Sarah, who spoke out and told the story from the inside. And that's really what has been needed. And we need the people of this community to really come together on Saturday the 21st, across party. Everyone's invited to come and give support to our staff, who I hear from the inside are really under stress at the moment. And to get a good service, we need to make our staff comfortable in their jobs and happy in their work. And that's certainly not the feedback that I'm getting at the moment.
I heard representatives from the HSE and indeed the Health Minister over the weekend, welcoming the fact, and to some extent almost taking a little bit of credit for the fact that discharges were improved this weekend. But it was, again, off the back of those staff that you talk of, that I don't know how much else or how much more they have left to give. It is them who are effectively responsible for a slightly improved situation this Monday morning compared to last Tuesday. The well is going to run dry with these people. It has to.
I think when I read Sarah's report, it really summed it up, because what she explained was that the people moving into the service are new and inexperienced. The problem is that those that are sharing the brunt of the burden, the experienced staff that we need to retain, and they're moving out because the stress levels are getting to them. I'm hearing about the feedback of, you can imagine if you don't have a happy team, Greg, you're working in small communities in each ward. That team in your ward must be happy and comfortable working together. And there's problems on the ground that it's unfair of us in the community not to come out and support. I want the best possible hospital service. There are serious questions to be asked long term. But to deal with this immediate crisis, we need to have people, and we have people in this community that are very capable of putting policies in place to address the immediate crisis in the short term and to look at the overall handling of affairs. This needs a community effort, and I would implore everybody to come out together on Saturday for that 1 hour. It's your dinner hour. Give up your dinner hour. Come along at 1 o'clock on Saturday the 21st. Hail, rain or snow potentially. And please come and make a stand.
Yeah, I'm tiring to some extent with. I heard, I think it was Jack Chambers on at the weekend talking about how we need more access to private beds. And then we've got other people talking today about how we need to be able to get people, get the Fair Deal scheme fast-tracked so we can get people. I'm sick and tired of people who make decisions telling us what the problem is. It's not political for me, but I'm the same as everybody else. I have to access this service. I want people to stand up and take responsibility and tell us how they're going to do it. Right. So why can't we get people into these private hospital beds? What is the bottleneck to get people that it would apply to into say, for instance, step-down beds or into nursing homes or wherever it might be? We're not paying people 100,000 plus each to tell us the problems. We're paying these people allegedly to fix the problems. And hopefully we as a society are moving to the point now whereby that's what we're expecting for our elected representatives, not telling us what's wrong, telling us how they're going to fix it or why they can't fix it.
The general public may not know. I've been involved in other campaigns successfully with Letterkenny Hospital because I'm passionate about it. I've had to use it. I continue to use it, and I will have to use it in the future. I don't want second best. I want the best. We have the staff generated here in our training schemes. There's no reason that we can't have a much, much better service. There's 2 points you made there. One is there's been a systemic pyramid scheme by the HSEs over the years to build this pyramid scheme, is what I would call it, which is really, it's a jobs for the boys. And I can say it, it is jobs for the boys. We need to look at people that are in positions and either sidetrack them to a different position that they're competent with, but we need to address the incompetence in the system long term. That's no good for the current winter crisis. The current winter crisis, we need to look at short-term measures. The big argument you mentioned briefly there is the long-term argument about, is this a policy to hoodwink the public into a private healthcare system like an American-type system? Is it by stealth? Of course, I think it is. That's not the argument for today. The argument for today is to deal with the immediate crisis, alleviate the pressure on our A&E staff and the ward staff, and we need to look at the structuring of how this has been operated and run.
And it's not about money too. It's a money pit. 23.5 billion euro going into the health service. There is more than enough money to run an effective health service if it was done correctly.
Greg, capacity is the problem and service facilities being offered. In 1981, and I don't like to bore people with figures, but from my research I've done, in 1981, we had 9.7 beds per 1,000 people. that is the town the size of Milford or Ramelton. There was an access, of 9.7 beds for a community of 1,000 people. Today, would you like to guess what that bed access is, the ratio?
4.2? 2.2.
2.2. Crisis. That's
yeah.
across the country. That's not just in Letterkenny Hospital. That's what we're talking about.
Yeah, we discussed that last week, and those decisions were made because they believed that we actually had too much capacity. People weren't spending as long in hospital because we were, this is according to Peter O'Rourke, because we were getting people in and out of hospital quicker, but it didn't look to population changes and long-term needs and what have you. And we also have this situation, and it's something I've mentioned on the show a couple of times, whereby older people are blamed for this, right? Yet what actually happened was it's nothing to do with older people. I'm delighted people are living longer, but in some cases they're going to need more medical attention. We knew about this, but it wasn't planned for. And now if you're an older person, sometimes you might listen to conversations, not like the one we're having, but others have, and you might feel like a burden. Oh, well, I'm sorry I lived to 76. My bad. I'm really ruining the health service for everyone. That's how older people are made feel. But the reality is the hospital system should have been adapting over the last decades to accommodate these people so they could be treated well, respectfully, and sent home in better health. But instead, they're being made feel like some sort of a problem.
The HSE has closed 8 A&E departments across the country. Do you know what I mean? In the last 15 years. How do they not think there's going to be a problem? It's basic common sense. This is really not about Into Today. This is me passionately talking, and it falls in with the campaign because of the Navan Hospital A&E closure in Drogheda. It falls in that ultimately we've got to come together politically and as individuals who have experience, and there's some very talented people with a huge amount of experience in Donegal who really could put their finger on the pulse here and start pulling things around in a short period of time. The normal systems of failure, you're looking at a 10-year to revert, to compensate for systems failures. We don't have 10 years to give this. How many people die in 10 years? We need a team coming in. We need a consultation. And the best people to ask are the people in the service, a roundtable conference where they have real power. And I would start by appointing that girl, Sarah, as a mediator of what is really needed, and she'll tell you the truth. She should be promoted. She should be encouraged for speaking out and encouraged more to speak out.
In reality, what might the attendance be like? I hear you, right? And it's an impassioned appeal, and I know you're talking about this being non-partisan, but the reality is that often when we have protests like this called, and we've had Padraig Tobin speaking nationally on this as well, that it is going to put off your Fianna Fáil voters, your Fine Gael voters, your Sinn Féin voters, who might not have views that are aligned to that of Aontú. So in other words, it's probably a good opportunity for people to get out and have a say, but because it might be seen, at least interpreted as being led by one political party, it might damage it. That's not a criticism of Aontú. It's maybe just that we're quite partisan maybe sometimes.
25 years ago, I wasn't an Aontú when I campaigned to get the patient advocate into Letterkenny Hospital, Greg, because we needed it. I didn't know what a patient advocate was, only that I saw it in Crumlin, because I had a crisis situation with a child. When you see a good service, you want it for your community. You want it for your hospital. There are huge, difficult questions. I was in Fianna Fáil for years, remember, Greg? It would be narrow of me to think that people won't support this campaign. I disagree with you.
I hope I'm wrong.
I'm
not. What I was trying to say is that maybe this is what I was actually trying to say was, if this is something that you're passionate about, maybe put any political views to one side and get out, regardless of who you support. That's kind of what I'm saying. Because what might, if 300 people turn out, and people might say, well, that's all right, but really it doesn't send a message. Do you know what I mean? You need a couple of thousand people in a county of our size for people to realise that we are saying enough is enough.
I remember attending Dr. frustrated, poor Dr. Mulpeters, as I hate the word protest. I prefer to use the word campaign, or highlighting a cause. And I just thought to myself, how many more doctors and consultants do we need to pull off their line of duty to have to make impassioned. I remember hearing on your show, the consultant, I used to be infuriated. The consultant, I'm standing at the window looking out at a digger driving around the yard and I have nobody in theatre. You know these people.
And we've had consultants that left.
I don't.
We've had consultants that left because they were so frustrated by it very recently. That was actually really quite.
It does not matter that it's me that's organising.
Yeah, I know. I get that.
But I was a coordinator in my day in my college. I have done coordination because in my educational capacity, and people have had the confidence to approach me to say, please do something because nobody else is.
Right,
this is not a glory hunt for me or for Intu.
No, I don't think anyone would think that's your motivation. Right, okay, so it's a protest at Letterkenny University Hospital, a demonstration, however you want to phrase it. No political banners, it's people coming together regardless of your political background. Saturday, January 21st at 1 p.m, that's next Saturday, and we shall see.
I would invite the people from the other political parties to now text them, because we all listen to your show, Greg. Text them and give commitment that they'll be there. And if anybody has a flatbed transit van, please bring it along because we'll need it. Because I don't have the money to hire one like the big political parties that do have money. So I'd be delighted to get it.
Okay, thanks, Mary T. As always, take care of yourself. That's Mary T. Sweeney there of the Ain't Two Party, but as she says herself, the protest being organised, the demonstration on Saturday, it's not an Ain't Two protest.
Cutting through the spin. The 9 till noon show on Highland Radio. The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union. Do you need to switch your current account or loan? We are now offering MyCU current account and debit MasterCard, bringing full banking features and competitive rate switcher loans.
The TUI Live Happy sale is here, with savings of up to €250 per booking. Free child places, even in the school summer holidays. Plus low booking deposits from €50 per person, with holidays to suit all budgets. Relax and get booking. TUI Live Happy. Offer T's and C's apply.
There's no better time to switch to 48. Get all data, calls and texts for $12.99 a month. And there's no contract, so you're not tied down. Plus, we're powered by 3. Switch and save at 48.ie. Monthly membership, fair usage policy of 200 gigabytes, 5,000 calls and texts, and terms and conditions apply. One-time activation fee of $12.99. See 48.ie.
The Restex Beds and Furniture Winter Sale is now in full swing at their showroom at the Mountaintop in Letterkenny, supplying only the finest quality, luxurious Irish-made beds and mattresses with genuine savings throughout our range. We look forward to seeing you at Restex Beds and Furniture Winter Sale.
You may think you know driving, but you don't know Nissan e-Power. An electric motor that brings you the performance and response on the road that you demand. Charged by a petrol engine as you drive. The thrill and economy of electric driving without ever having to plug in. And it's exclusive to Nissan. Who said you have to plug in to drive electric? Find the drive you've been looking for with e-Power. Now available in the new Nissan Qashqai. A unique electrifying experience now unplugged. Nissan. Innovation that excites.
From the smallest shrub to the largest tree in an awkward place, Donnelly Tree Services provide a complete range of tree surgery services. Whether you need to remove a dangerous tree or some nuisance branches, Donnelly Tree Services have the experience and expertise to carry out tree surgery to the highest of professional standards. Call 083 005 9939. Donnelly Tree Services, Donegal. No job is too small, no tree is too tall.
Charlie McClafferty Funeral Directors, serving Letterkenny and the surrounding areas for over 100 years. Charlie McClafferty Funeral Directors. Let our family take care of your family and guide you through a difficult time.
Highland Radio weather updates with Ireland West Airport. Salah, Nunes, the Beatles. You can now fly to Liverpool 8 times a week with Ryanair this summer. Ireland West Airport. Don't just take off, take it easy.
Okay, blustery day today with fresh to strong and gusty westerly winds, a mix of scattered showers and sunny spells through the day, with showers becoming more isolated by nightfall. Highs of 6 to 8 degrees with winds easing this evening. Right, so locally we haven't really been able to figure out why. We have some NCT test centres have really low pass rates, the lowest being Derrybeg, and Letterkenny also well down. But then other areas have really quite high pass rates, up to 62 odd percent. So let's see if Shane O'Donoghue, editor of CompleteCar.ie, can work this one out for us. Good morning, Shane. How are you keeping?
Good morning, Greg. How are you?
Good, thank you. Well, the working theory for my listeners at this point is that some of us in certain areas might be more inclined not to pre-test the car, to get it in, get the NCT done, and see whatever we failed as the programme of works to hand to our mechanic. That's the best thing we've managed to come up with so far this morning.
To be honest, I think that's a nationwide scourge. I think people all over the country do that, and it's not a good idea, especially right now when there are such delays for getting tests. When I've seen some people are being told they have to wait until July and August before they can have a car tested. So people need to take responsibility for the maintenance and roadworthiness of their car. But anyway, that's getting off the point slightly. The reason for it, I mean, it's just anecdotal. I don't think we have enough evidence for this, but we were speaking to a few colleagues about this earlier, and the best theory we can come up with is that actually in more rural areas, people are more reliant on cars. And that goes across all the ages, so from young people up. Less public transport, it's not so easy to use public transport, and therefore they spend more time in their cars on rural roads. And a lot of the failures in the NCT are due to suspension issues. So bushings and, things out of alignment.
Cracked leaf or something like that there, depending on the type of vehicle. It's that kind of stuff,
exactly.
Isn't it? Yeah, right. Well, that would seem to make sense.
It's just one part of the theory. And then on top of all that, of course, with the shortage in new cars and used cars that we've talked about before over the last few years, it means people are keeping their cars for longer than ever. So we have an aging car park, if you like. And I mean, if you look at the numbers, the figures, the difference between the area with the best pass rate, which is in Dean's Grange in Dublin, and the worst, which is actually Derrybeg and Donegal, the percentage difference between the two isn't drastic. I mean, it does show a trend there, but I feel that the age of the car might have something to do with that too, because if you're talking about quite an affluent South Dublin suburb where people probably don't drive big mileages, the average age of a car is quite new. You expect them to have a better pass rate than a rural area where people are keeping their car a bit longer and they're driving on rural roads more.
Yeah, so, and of course too, you mentioned the financial element. It has to be factored into. We have the lowest national lowest disposable income as well. So all of these things are going to filter into the situation. But the problem is though, it's almost though a tax on rural living, because there is, it's not a tax on rural living. That's probably too emotive, but it just goes to show it costs more. Because you're having to spend more on your car maintenance.
Yeah, I mean that's a big thing. The urban-rural divide there. I can't disagree with that, but we also can't argue with the fact that we need all of the cars that are on the roads to be roadworthy. We need this test. We need to, because people can't be trusted to keep their cars in tip-top condition, especially when we have a cost of living crisis going on. It's often said, for instance, tires in a car are often called a distress purchase, where you only buy them when you absolutely have to. And yet they're the thing that connect the car to the road, and they're so important.
Yeah, it's a really important point. It is. It does feel almost like you're throwing money away, even though we know that's not the case. It's that they are one of the most important. But it's just like tires, 90 quid a corner or whatever it might be. It just is like, who can afford that in any given week? A distressed purchase. I like that phraseology. That sounds about right.
Yeah, and the same thing with other maintenance, to be honest. I think people are and this is across the board, this is definitely not just a rural thing, where people treat the NCT as, that's what will give me a list of things I need to do with my next service, rather than keeping the car in good condition to start with. And to be honest, it's a false economy. Whatever about road safety, which is the major factor, of course, it's also costs. If you let your car if the car isn't properly maintained, it'll probably end up costing you more in the long run, to be honest, if your engine isn't well maintained, particularly, and things like that.
But we're lazy, mate. I would say, and I wonder would anyone admit it and text in after the really cold spell of weather we had. I would say there are people, if they're lucky enough to have their car notify them of same, that they are probably driving around with at least 2 or 3 tyres that need air, and their window wash tank's probably empty as well.
Yeah, well, again, you mentioned tyres there, and it's such an important one. And the thing is, it's a very easy thing for people to check that for themselves. Every petrol station nearly has, a tyre pressure monitor. You can check it. More modern cars have actually got built-in tyre pressure sensors, of course. But even for older cars, it's not a difficult job to do for yourself. And keep your windows clean, keep your lights clean, check your lights. I mean, that's such a simple thing to do, but it's a ridiculous number of cars fail the NCT because a bulb is blown, and anybody can check that.
And they all swear it blew on the way to the test centre as well.
Well, yeah.
Right, so, I mean, so then looking past the headlines, in reality, the discrepancy of 20%, in your view, it's not that huge, really, 60 to 40. And a lot of that really probably is quite explainable because of rural locations, people more reliant on cars, higher mileage, perhaps older cars. So really, it makes sense rather than something that is difficult to get to the bottom of.
Yeah, I think so. And if it was a single test centre as an outlier, then you might worry a bit more, and it might require more investigation. But when you look at the 4 NCT test centres in Donegal, they all seem to be below the national average in terms of the pass rate, and that definitely. It kind of reinforces our theory, should we say.
A caller says, I get my car pre-tested before the NCT. In 18 years, my car has never failed the NCT on first inspection. Walking away with a failure does nothing for your morale on NCT day. It means expensive repairs and another trip to the NCT centre, which is not for free either. Another, just as it relates to waiting lists, I rang on Thursday to book my NCT, told I would be put on a waiting list and I'd get my date before the end of January. Got a date on Saturday the 27th of January. NCT due middle February. Don't book online, better to ring them up, is one person's piece of advice there. And if you're flexible, you probably might get a date.
Yeah, the online system right now is really struggling to cope with the backlog that there has been in the system, and the fact that the NCT service in general is lacking staff. So I would echo what that listener just said. To be honest, you go online first of all and see what's available. Book yourself something, even if it's in the distant future, because that will cover you with insurance and the Gardaí. And then in the meanwhile, if you need one sooner, ring up on the day, or ring up when you know you have time. If you can be flexible, obviously it helps.
And we know when it's going to be busy, because we know when new cars are registered, and eventually then they become due for NCT. So even if maybe your NCT's due in January, try October, November maybe. Play the system a little bit, because everyone who's bought a car, I don't know what, 4 years, is it 3 years? I haven't a clue.
4 years.
4 years, right? They're all going to be due. That whole batch of cars sold in that year going to be due 4 years later. All right, Shane, editor of CompleteCar.ie. Tell us a little bit about your website briefly, just if people want to log on, Shane.
We help people choose their next new car, basically, or the next new or used car, as well as talking through all motoring issues. It's completely free for readers, and we're there to help. All
right, cheers. Appreciate your time. Lovely to chat to you. Thank you very much indeed. Shane O'Donoghue, editor of CompleteCar.ie. Right, okay. Let us... what shall we do? Yeah, go to a couple of comments here. Us working in the hospital waiting for someone to organise a protest, we can't organise it because we're so busy and it's not our area of expertise. We will stand out. A shortage of people should not be a concern. And sometimes when I say something like that there, I have done an awful lot of pre-interviews for protests, and with the exception of Ken Peters, often there's not a huge turnout, because our concerns with the health system often really are around about the time when we or someone very close to us are sick. So when talking about the potential for a low turnout, my motivation in that is not that I'm getting involved in it in any way, shape or form. It's just to sort of say that if it's something that you care about, you kind of need to turn up. Because if you don't, well, then you could take away from it that, well, it mustn't be that big a problem then. Do you get me? So that's when I talk about things like turnout and all, that's the reason I'm kind of in that space having that conversation. All right, back with the news update for you shortly.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union. Now offering MyCU current account and debit MasterCard, bringing full banking features, delivered with the same local, trustworthy service of your credit union.
COVID-19 and flu viruses are circulating in the community. Keeping up to date with your recommended vaccines will make sure you have the best possible protection from serious illness. And everyone aged 18 to 49 can now get a second COVID-19 booster vaccine from a HSC vaccination centre or a participating GP or pharmacy. See what vaccines are recommended for you on hsc.ie or call our team in HSC Live on 1800 700 700 from the HSC.
Tune in this Tuesday to the Community Garda information slot, on air after 10 a.m. on the 9 till noon show in association with Sheridan Security Systems. Call today and get your zero-wire alarm system from €299. Sheridan Security, 91-26025.
Us pigeons see everything when we're flapping around up here. Well, almost everything. See, burning certain fuels releases invisible toxic pollutants, which can trigger asthma and lead to serious illness. So, if you're going to light a fire in your home, make sure to use low-smoke fuel. Oh, and never wing at burning rubbish.
Choosing low-smoke fuel is better for all of us. Let's clear the air for everyone. And remember to clean chimneys and heating appliances at least once a year. Brought to you by the Government of Ireland.
Years ago, I used to dread my motor insurance renewal. Then a friend told me about O'Malley Scanlon Insurance in Ballybofey and Dunlow. They do all the hard work. They contact all the major insurance underwriters and they get the very best possible quote for me. They have saved me a small fortune over the years and they could do the same for you.
When your insurance comes up for renewal, contact O'Malley Scanlon Insurance at their Ballybofey office on 9131020 or their Dunlow office on 952206. O'Malley Scanlon is regulated by the Central Bank.
Would you like to join the Highland Radio News and Current Affairs team? If you are an experienced or newly qualified journalist, why not apply to join the Highland Radio team in breaking the latest stories across the Northwest and beyond? You can apply by forwarding your CV to hr@highlandradio.com or by post. The closing date for applications is Friday, January the 13th. For more details, check out the job spot section of highlandradio.com.
The county's #1 talk show, the 9 till noon show on Highland Radio.
Okay, another hour to come on the programme this Monday morning. Stay right where you are. It's an interesting one, but at 11 o'clock, let's get a news update now and we'll say good morning to Donald Kavanagh.
Thank you very much indeed, Greg. Protests are to take place outside Letterkenny University Hospital and other acute facilities across the country as part of a national day of action to highlight the overcrowding crisis at emergency departments. Local Aintree representative Mary T. Sweeney says the demonstration will be an all-party, non-partisan event and is calling for a large turnout. She said it's vital that the local community is seen to support the staff at the hospital. She was speaking to Greg on the 9 till noon show a short time ago. Well, there were 489 admitted patients awaiting beds in hospitals across the country this morning. That's according to figures from the Irish Nurses and Midwives Organisation. Of those, 37 were waiting at Letterkenny University Hospital, 16 of them on emergency department trolleys. Sligo had 30 people awaiting beds, 17 of them in the ED. Well, the clinical lead with the HSC, Dr. Colm Henry, says there has been some relief to the record numbers seen waiting on hospital trolleys in recent days. He said hospitals across the country managed to increase their discharge levels over the weekend. However, he stressed that the country has not yet peaked when it comes to winter flu. The NCT Test Centre in Derrybeg had the lowest pass rate of any in the country last year. Dean's Grange in South Dublin had the highest. The figures compiled by independent.ie also reveal a total of 14 test centres had pass rates below 50%, 2 of those in Donegal. All 3 of Donegal's centres returned pass rates below the national average. It was 54.3%. Donegal Town's pass rate was 51%, Letterkenny's 46.4%, and Derrybeg's pass rate was 40%. A Sinn Féin MLA in Derry has condemned a sectarian attack on homes in the Fountain Estate at the weekend. Padraig Delargy is urging anyone with information to bring it forward to the PSNI. Rocks were thrown at two houses in the Fountain at around about 4:45 on Saturday evening. There were children in one of the houses. A window was smashed by the rocks and children's toys and an interior wall were damaged. Letterkenny came in 6th in the latest Irish Business Against Litter Award. The town has been praised by IBAL, with the Ballymacool Town Park coming in for particular praise given the fact that it's a very big facility but was absolutely spotless. Naas in County Kildare won IBAL's National Award for the second year in a row. And concerns have been expressed at what's been described as persistent reckless driving along the Strabane bypass and the Orchard Road Industrial Estate. The Vice Chair of the local Policing and Community Partnership has urged drivers involved to desist and show consideration for residents and other road users. Paul Boggs says he's been contacted by residents in College Grove and the Orchard in relation to these incidents, which he says are endangering the local community and those using the Strabane bypass and the A5. And we're back with news headlines again at 12 noon.
All right, Donald, thank you very much indeed.
You may think you know driving, but you don't know Nissan e-Power. An electric motor that brings you the performance and response on the road that you demand, charged by a petrol engine as you drive. The thrill and economy of electric driving without ever having to plug in. And it's exclusive to Nissan. Who said you have to plug in to drive electric? Find the drive you've been looking for with e-Power. Now available in the new Nissan Qashqai. A unique electrifying experience now unplugged. Nissan. Innovation that excites.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook and at highlandradio.com.
Okie dokie, you're very welcome back to the programme. And we have Paul McDevitt and Jimmy Stafford, presenter and producer of Monday Night Sessions here on Highland Radio. They're in studio with us. Good morning to you, Jimmy.
Good morning, Greg. How are you doing?
Good to have you in. And also Paul McDevitt. Paul, good morning.
Morning, Greg.
Sorry to get you up this early.
You're okay, Greg. You're okay.
He rang me. I was just putting on my shoes, getting out of bed.
Blue Monday, it's called.
Is it? All right. Is that this one? All right. Right. We're here to talk about it's an initiative which started. Was it last year? It was last
2021.
year. 20. Is it really?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Right. You might remember in 2021 there was an initiative run in partnership with Hot Press, the IBI, and the BAI Sound and Vision Programme. It's to promote and celebrate Irish music. Right now, with us, I think to some extent they're pushing an open door, because I know that's what you guys are very committed to, Jimmy, through your programme as well, about highlighting and platforming and breaking, new Irish music. So this is a national competition, but I think, we take that seriously here already anyway, don't we?
Yep.
Yeah, I think it's fairness to Highland Radio, Greg, over the years, Irish music has always been strength for us, and every show really across, from right in the morning to late in the evening.
Mm-hmm.
And Monday Night Sessions is 8 years now, I'd say, on the go, roughly. And then I do the Thursday night, and then the Irish music. So look, we're blessed, as we say, up in North, in Donegal, Northwest, and across that whole sphere with music that comes into us.
Look, you're exactly right, we are. And the thing about it is, we're coming back tonight with the first one of 2023. With no studio guests in, because we just leave it like that. But since last week, we're now booked out until the end of February, and there's acts already in for March. So, and that's the power of the local artists, the local music. About the caliber's unbelievable up here. So
it really is. And you saw, I don't think there's anyone, any couple of individuals around the Northwest that would have such a knowledge of all different types of stuff too. Do you know what I mean? I don't know if that's something that you do purposely, Jimmy, but it's all different types of artists that you have on.
Yeah, it is, Greg, and you would have seen in 2021, even when we did the competition, the entries we had in over 100 plus. But even the rock bands now, and rock wouldn't have been a big genre of mine, being honest, but now you see some of the younger acts coming through, like Expedition and Sheer Buzz and stuff like that, and it's refreshing to see it. These are 16, 17-year-olds and 18-year-olds who are just loving their music.
We had Derry Band Lavengro up here, and they're just going from strength to strength, massive at the minute. So we take great pride in that, and that's the centre issue. It's for the acts, Greg, it's for them to get the opportunity. And as Jimmy says, we have bagpipes playing up here, and then we'll go to the heaviest rock you've ever seen that you would hear down there at the bottom of the street, you know. And there's nights here, there's bands come with gear and it's the roadies and everything with them, isn't it?
Oh yeah, full road crew.
We love it. It's just. I love that mental rock thing too.
But also, obviously, to get particularly for people to travel and set up the gear, there's a reputation that has to be built there as well. That it's a good platform for these guys, and they're. Now, the cast for this competition, the net is being cast wide, right? Because, I mean, it's pretty much anyone. If you're in a band, you're releasing your own music, rock, pop, folk, rap, anything at all, whether you're established, not established, you know, as much as you try, there might be people saying, well, no one's ever called me. Well, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
No one's excluded. Get involved in this. That's the secret, isn't it?
And the last time, if we go back to 2021, I remember them saying up here, Linda and Fionnuala happened to mention the fact that Highland Radio listenership had the biggest input for this competition in the country. There's 25 independent radio stations taking part in this. So ours was, well, we're very proud of that because Amy Meehan represented us, and we were on the judging panel as you were yourself.
I mean, that was
and my
tough.
God, it was awful.
Yeah,
because
there was so many. There was so many brilliant tracks. Like, and I mean, obviously, sometimes you have to step outside what you like yourself.
Exactly,
but
absolutely,
good music, even if you are not a fan of a particular genre of music, you can recognise it as good music, can't you?
Absolutely, and I think that was the big thing. And look, it's just great to have this back this year in 2023. And you look at the brief in it now, Greg, that we have, which has been launched on your show today. What an opportunity. So really what we did in 2021, if you remember, we appealed to everyone listening out there. You might have a son, a daughter, or a husband, or a wife, or a granny or granddad who you know can sing and play an instrument, and go to them and say, look, this is a great competition to enter, and get your entries into Highland. We'll talk more about that in terms of how and all that sort of stuff. But you know, the stuff we got in the last time, there was 100+ entries, Greg, that time.
And there's a few, I hope there's re-entries.
Absolutely.
There's a few,
definitely.
That, because, I mean, there's some I liked that other people didn't.
That's right, we disagreed on.
That was exactly, because it was like, you know, I love this, and you have to try and come out with and we did. I think we did really well. But there's a few that I would love to see them back at it again.
Definitely, without a shadow.
You know, so I'd love to see a load of re-entries.
Absolutely.
There's a great prize there overall. You know, overall prize is €5,000 and €5,000 worth of music equipment. And you also get your music played on all the independent radio stations, you know what I mean? And this is a big opportunity. And as I say, it's supported by Hot Press and IBA and the BAI Sound and Vision Fund. So I think it's even here on a local basis. The 4 finalists here they'll get a once-off payment of €875, which is, you know, that's okay, and 650 for a band, and then there'll be 225 if you have crew, so it comes to 875.
So me and Paul will be the crew for each act.
I don't think that's going to work. I've already suggested I'm doing that,
and it's only one-piece acts.
You'll just carry the tambourine out. The big. I'd say that you'd love the flying pickets to. You'd love the flying tickets.
I never thought of that.
It is though, but I mean, and the beauty about this.
Can I just have a bit of credit for that reference, please?
Absolutely. I can write that down.
All right. Sorry, Jimmy.
I'll just write it down for tonight. The big thing about this, Greg, right? So I mean, there's dates here and all which we'll go into, but I think the big thing is you say we get 100 or whatever amount. We listen to every one of those acts, right?
Yeah.
You, myself, yourself, and Paul, and Linda, and Fionnuala, and we're bringing in an independent judging person as well from outside Highland who will have a musical interest, and we'll talk more about that in a couple of weeks' time. But I mean, it narrows down to 4 acts then that come on your show. I think it's the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and they perform here 2 songs. You have a chat with them as well. It's huge exposure for that band, plus the money that Paul said they get €875 each, or if it's a solo act or a band or whatever. And then we look at narrowing that 4 down to 1 winner on that Friday on your show again, who goes forward nationally and represents the Northwest on the national stage for a fantastic opportunity to be a national winner. And look, we're going to go guns blazing for this year because we did it well in 2021.
Well, you see, what happens is we find you start rally. Whoever wins here, you go, right, we're behind you. You're from the Northwest here, you know. And it is all across the Northwest too. I think we got entries from you know the main three counties.
We did. We certainly did.
Great entrance from Strabane and Derry as well.
Yeah, huge amount. And
as I say, the opportunity's there for someone to you know who's dedicated to the music. The only thing it is, it's not covers. You have to have an original, and that's important, you know. And there's you know yourself, Jimmy, from the original art, you know, songwriters here in this county and further field, just unbelievable. People write their own music and they're very, very talented. So there's not a great opportunity.
I mean, I'd say you guys between you, and I think I could as well, could pick 5 acts, you know, that produce their own music that should be at least huge on the national scale.
Absolutely.
That's the quality that we have in this region.
Greg, I got a song on Friday. I sent it to Paul from the studio, Paul Casey, Ruben Hester.
Yeah.
Right? It is I mean, this guy is just incredible. The song, I think it's going to go places. I really do. And they released it on Friday. It's unreal. Like, there's a guy now who, again, is local. He's originally from Wexford, but working through Paul Casey in Derry. But you have examples. The other thing was if they send in a song to us, right, to Highland Radio, they can't send that. They can't go to another radio station.
Multiple entries.
So we'll be encouraging, come to us, because, you know, we'll have a good come to Highland Radio.
Of course, we love this competition. I'm not saying others don't, but we genuinely really love this. So you submit your music simply by emailing your original track via MP3 to music@highlandradio.com. Now, I think last year some people were emailing in links to SoundCloud or YouTube. I mean, really what we'd want, if you can just go to the bit of effort, if it's required, to send us the MP3, because it's just handier for listening all in the one format.
And the email address is important. It's music, as you say, music@highlandradio.com. Simple as that. No other email address. That's it.
Contact details and a short piece about yourself. Dates, Jimmy, you said dates are important.
Yeah, so Tuesday 31st of January, so we're already, you know, we've about 3 weeks to go. So, I mean, there are people out there who have, you know, when you interview songwriters and we talk to them, they have stuff sitting there already, maybe ready to go, and they might say, well, this song might suit this competition. So, look, if you're out there and you think, have something, get it on an MP3, talk to, you know, some people say, well, how do I do an MP3? That's another one. Go and talk to some producers out there. There's loads of them across the Northwest, and you know, you can contact ourselves.
Or listen, if you've got a video up on YouTube, download a video downloader extension, and just download the MP3 version of it. There's ways and means.
Yeah. And I think the other one is, I suppose, that's really tight. So 31st of January, right? 17th of February, we'll be doing the shortlist here on Highland Radio. So that's kind of 2 weeks later. And then on the 6th to the 10th of March, which is on your show, that the acts will come in and perform live here. So like you did, and that was brilliant, because they're in the studio behind us here, and they had a full setup, and it was streamed and the whole lot. So they'll be performing one song, a chat, and then a second song, and that's the rules and the engagement. That video and that MP3 stuff then is also used nationally. And then on the 13th of March, the winners announced, I think, and then at the national level, it goes on from there. So look,
So our key date here for now then is Tuesday the 31st of January. Get your track, a bit about yourself, contact details to music@highlandradio.com. Then we can start kicking on, and then we'll organise the other dates. We do want people to be free for those live performances on that week. That would be really, really...
It's important. Yeah, they have to be able to come in the studio here on that week. But look, the lads will be here, and Caroline and Co will be contacting them as well the week before.
And we'll also be, you know, we'll be highlighting it once again tonight on the programme. We're back in tonight, and you also... nobody will be able to say they didn't hear about it, you know, because everyone... And plus the fact, you know, we want to mention that there's a record producing company called Ruby Works, and they're the local hero Wonder All Over will have their single released by that label. So there's a fantastic opportunity. You know, I know the money's a great option, but it's like your song is guaranteed to be played on 25 independent radio stations.
It is,
Now, maybe this is a current affairs show, so I can't resist.
We're open to anything.
No, but I can't. But listen, I think we do well here in terms of supporting Irish music. I think every station could do a bit better, right? Yep. But I saw some stats there recently about the low level of Irish music being played on radio stations. I think primarily nationally. And if you take Dermot Kennedy out of it, it's borderline non-existent.
Yeah.
This competition is great, but wouldn't it be great if we got to a space whereby we didn't have to sort of come up with this mechanism to try and get people on the radio? To say, I think we do well here. Everyone can always do better. Yeah. But I think this is more talking to a national problem that this country and its broadcasters don't do enough to support until they break internationally. So until Radio 1 plays them, they don't get on. And then if we do it, it's sometimes they're trying too hard. Yeah, if you know what I mean, trying to be too.
What I've noticed here, you wouldn't believe how many acts have told us. We would say when we're talking to them off air and things, why don't you push the all radio stations? You wouldn't believe how many acts tell us they can't get airplay, and this is something that why not? I just cannot get my head around the times. We are very good here. We are. There's no doubt about that. And everyone covers the Irish music scene, not only ourselves. But I can't understand why a radio station doesn't say, well, sure, we'll give it a spin, we'll give it a go.
You see, they don't. See, the thing is they don't work it out, right? Yeah. Radio remains very, very popular, and that's great to see. But eventually, right, if some of them don't change their ways, people will not listen to the radio, they'll just listen to Spotify. And who will they listen to Spotify on? They'll go there and listen to the Irish artists because they can't hear them on the radio.
Exactly, yeah.
Whereas if some of the programmers on a national level took the bull by the horns now, because they're afraid they're living by listenership figures every couple of months, and they're afraid that if we do something drastic, maybe they'll switch from 2FM to iRadio or vice versa or whatever. So someone needs to sort of have a bit of courage, because they're going to be chasing these people in the future anyway. I try and retain them now.
And let's call a spade a spade. The labels are controlling a lot of it, Greg. Do you know? I mean, that's the reality, and that's where, like, I don't underestimate when I talk to artists out there. It is a tough industry. It
has to be a passion, because it's not easy to make money out of music.
And I mean, it's not. And we won't name this particular guest we had, and you know him as well, right? We had him up here a few months ago, and he's taken a sabbatical or a leave of absence from a good job and to pursue a career in the music industry. Now, out gigging 3, 4, 5 nights a week. It's hard work, but it's his passion, and that's what he wants to do. And this guy is brilliant. So I mean, it is, but you have to put the hours and the work in. And then it comes back to, Greg, your point about not getting played. But you'd often see music acts, when you look at their PR around some of them, they're really good, and others are really, really poor, and they don't know how to do it in many respects, and that's the big challenge for a lot of artists out there. But
and putting yourself forward on the radio. So a thing we always say too, you're selling yourself. That's your package, and part of being able to bounce back on a conversation and an interview is important. Sometimes people come up and they just haven't got that wee age. Stage presence is part of it.
I suppose that's a learning process too.
Exactly.
It helps.
And we're here to encourage that. That's what we like to say. Exactly. Don't panic and don't be. But there's there's a couple of bands we know, and their stage presence is awful. And we're watching all these bands. A lot of time you see what goes on between the songs is nearly as important as the songs, because they're engaging, but that's all about learning, absolutely, yeah.
So this competition could be a great opportunity for somebody, I think
it's a great opportunity for everyone, and as you say, maybe the person that's entering might not be listening today or might not be listening this evening. If it's you mentioned all the various relationships it could be, encourage them to get their music in, and just run through the prize there once again. It's because it's about exposure. There's a financial element to it as well, but I think experience. But that being said, by the way, this is open to experienced musicians as well. It's open to everyone. Well, so go ahead, Paul.
So the final 4 that'll be picked up here will each get a one-off payment of €875, and that for a band is €650, and then €225 for the crew, which makes
or I think it's a solo act, they'll get the 875.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. But it's good for maybe somebody who's working, helping a band out. They can, see the overall prize pot then is €5,000 prize money and €5,000 worth of music equipment. So plus the fact that your song is released and by a major record label, and your song will be played on the Irish independent radio stations, on every one of them. So it's a big deal.
And the organisers will get behind you, and we're part of that because it's very much in their interest that whoever wins is a success. So in other words, you know what I mean. There's a lot going on here.
Yeah.
Right. So it doesn't matter what genre, whether you're part of a band, a choir, a solo artist, whatever it is, pop, folk, rap, all of these genres now roll intertwined now in any case.
Rap and everything,
you know what I mean? It's all...
It has to be original material.
Yeah. Original material.
That's the big one.
Right, go ahead, Jimmy.
I'm just going to say hello to Marie in Ardra. She's listening, Greg, and she says, I love that Ruben Hester song. Couldn't believe he's one of her own. And there you are.
He thinks he's on his own programme now.
Sorry.
He's taking requests.
I know, I'll do this one now.
Any requests, message Jimmy directly on the programme. Don't bother with 086 6020. What? Sorry, I'm only joking. Mary in Ardra, is it?
Mary in Ardra. Marie
in Ardra. Hi, Marie.
She's a Limerick woman.
Oh, very good. Excellent. Okay, she endorses.
I said she was a Cork woman last week, and she got offended. All right. But no, there's Ruben Hester. You know, it's a great example of another. You're getting a request on your phone. I thought you had a phone there.
Actually, it's something digging into my leg, and it's not my wallet because it's empty. What did you going to say there, Paul?
No, as I say, another artist. We talk about artists sending us music. We got music sent on Saturday, and it's a young lad, Donegal, originally based in Germany. Now we're going to cover his music tonight. It's called Mario Mannering, and he's a brilliant song called Bad Thing. A lot of people might not have heard of him, but he's doing great stuff in music. So you know, and there's a local element there, which is absolutely brilliant.
Our music here generally does travel. Well, I'm not saying this is why he's in Germany. He might just be coincidences working there.
Yeah.
But you would know lots of bands that gig extensively across Germany, Netherlands particularly.
Big, very popular.
There's some musical bridge there. I don't know if it's what the reason is, but
the Henry Girls and previously in their thousands and many acts like that. Johnny
Gallagher,
Italy, Switzerland. I mean, you see the stuff he does. It's incredible. You know, it's another world, and that's where we say that.
There was we happened on. I can't remember what it was. We were in Dublin, and he and Mickey Joe Hart. Just in the bar afterwards, the two of them with the guitars.
Pretty
cool.
And
he is cool.
What it is, Greg, and just be like what it is. You know, I would say one of the hardest working bands that I know is the four of us, right? Declan, Brendan, and I've used them. If you're any band and you want to see how you do it, follow them, right? Because these guys, if they're playing a gig, I said this to you in 2021, I think, and if they're playing a gig anywhere in the Northwest, they'll make it their business to come up to Highland Radio and do a session with us. Because, and being honest, they know that if they come on your show or our show, they'll sell another 10, 20 tickets.
To see the connection,
And they connect with people as well. So you have to get out there. And
the Coronas too, we're good. I had the Coronas on 2 or 3 times.
Brilliant, the Coronas,
But just landed in on Saturday mornings.
And that's what you have to do. And so look,
they were huge. They're still huge. Same as the four of us. But they know
the game
where you have to do the work.
They do,
absolutely.
You know.
That's
been there and done that, as I say.
Exactly. Okay, right. Get your music into us on MP3 format, please, to music@highlandradio.com. Please include your contact details and a short piece about yourself with your submissions. This is exciting because all this stuff is like 6 months away. I like things, when they're just around the corner. It puts pressure on people, but you know what? It's more exciting. Entries in by Tuesday the 31st of January 2023, and then there's a selection process. We'll get 4 years in to perform live here on this programme. There's exposure, there's experience there, of course, as well, and there's money. And it's all very exciting. Listen, lads, anything you want to add?
Greg, the other good thing about this, right, and in 2021 we picked up a load of new music that we were able to bring in on Monday night, and also on your show, because you brought stuff in as well. Do you know what I mean? So
it's like a troll for you guys.
So it fills a diary for the next year for us.
100%. Well, that, you see, that in its way, it's another pathway into another pathway in. Hold on a second here now. Pat Nora. No, it's nothing to do with you guys. They're wondering who's those two fellas have on. I've never heard them before. You must only listen to the radio in the mornings. Pat Nora Gallagher from Mary from Dunlow. Says we'll also take the county winner to perform at the Mary from Dunlow stage on the street.
Brilliant.
Any date that suits them from the 29th of July to the 6th of August.
Well done.
So it gives them more exposure. That's a significant live gig in the bag as well.
Absolutely, definitely.
Right, okay, nice one. Well done,
We
Pat.
might even get him on the stage for St. Patrick's Day Parade in Letterkenny as well.
It's a competition now.
No, you see, nice.
Nicholas Crofton's going to be on from Buncrana now and saying we can put them in the St. Patrick's Day Parade.
Ali Farrell will be on from Mallinhead and say he'll have him on Bamba's crown.
Is that Jerry Early? Hello.
Listen,
hey, come here. It's
thank
funny
you.
when you mention the names. There's some amazing people that really work hard for their areas.
Without a doubt.
You know what I mean?
Without a doubt.
And I'm thinking of Stephen McCahill in Ardra as
that's
well.
right.
And
I love that,
yeah.
I do, because of great appreciation and respect for people who do that, because
Carrie Garton Downings,
they're doing it for their own
Brendan
area.
Vaughan, plugging away down there as well as everybody else. Do you know what I mean?
We call some of them our roving reporters.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. Listen, but they're great people.
They are, yeah, absolutely.
And
it's a great spirit.
There's many more that we haven't mentioned. Okay, so that's another layer to it. That's a significant gig down there in Dunlow. And as you say, Jimmy, you might pull the strings with Letterkenny Chamber.
Yeah.
If you can't, we were stuffed all together. Right, lads, tonight, Monday from 8 till 10.
Well, 7 to 10 tonight. We're covering because Brendan Devaney's taking a wee break from the GA programme.
Super stuff. So you just get an extra hour.
Yeah.
Paul's going to play some ABBA and Bruce Springsteen.
No, I'm not. I'm
7 to
playing.
8.
I'll tell you what I'm actually doing, Jimmy. And for you being the producer, I thought you'd have told me what I'm doing. But anyway, that's it. I will be playing an hour of Irish rock.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, before we hit the ground running.
Right, okay.
I meant to send you out the text, sorry.
Well, listen, might as well do it live if you're going to do it at all.
Thanks, Greg, for your
right,
time.
Jimmy, you have all the info now. 7 till 8, it's Irish rock, all right? Okay,
7 to 8 tonight, yeah, I'll do the
and then
playlist.
From 8 till 10. Is it not that bad, is it?
No.
You're not going to have to do the playlist for me, yeah.
So,
would you?
I have it done. It's okay.
You do not. You'd be like, you go Rory Gallagher.
I'm like the Caroline. I'm the Caroline to Paul as what she is to you. Do you know what I can do it?
Oh, very good.
Well, I'll tell you what, Greg, you earn your money on.
All right, back with more of the National Noon Show after the break.
Text or WhatsApp your view to Greg on 086 60 25,000. The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union, now offering MyCU current account and debit MasterCard, bringing full banking features, delivered with the same local trustworthy service of your credit union.
I saw your Be Good baker running by again the other day, says I to old Mr. Brennan. Ah, yes, says he. I've never seen her stand still. And she's running rings around the rest of us with our Brennan's Be Good bread. Only 60 calories a slice. 60 calories, says I. That's just the whole meal, is it? No, says he, it's the whole meal, the whole grain and the white. 60 calories a slice and high in fibre, whatever way you slice it. That's why anything baked is better with Brennan's. Today's bread today.
Milford Tiles at Milford Retail Park. Stocking tiles, bathware, wood flooring and vinyl. January sale is now on. Great discounts in store with up to 20% off all products. Delivery and fitting available. Milford Tiles and wood flooring. 083 09 10 707. January sale now on. Don't miss it.
Like to eat well and get healthy size savings? Then you'll really like our Aldi Savers offers with up to 43% off, including Coco Loco coconut oil, save 43%, now only $1.99. Cavanagh's instant oat sachets 10-pack, save 34%, now only 99¢. Ballymore Crust Thins wholemeal loaf, save 26%, now only $1.25. And specially selected fresh mushroom soup, save 15%, now only $1.69. I don't like it, I love it. Aldi, every day amazing.
Our wide range of 2023 Skodas are going fast. This is the sound of the Breen family getting their powerful diesel Kodiaq. And this is fully charged Fiona, driving away in her electric Skoda Enyaq. And this is the sound of someone who didn't place their order in time. Order your 2023 Skoda today, before it's too late. Skoda, made for Ireland.
Your local Skoda dealer is DMG Motors, Clare Road, Donegal Town. Telephone 074 9721 396 or visit dmgmotors.ie.
Are you tired of waiting for treatment or surgery? Did you know you can receive immediate treatment across the border under the new NI planned healthcare scheme at potentially no cost? Donegal patients are still being treated with us at Kingsbridge Private Hospital Northwest post-Brexit. The process is easy and our dedicated team will help guide you through it. So why wait? Contact us today to find out how you can skip the waiting lists and receive treatment in Northern Ireland. Visit kingsbridgeprivatehospital.com, because life matters.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union. Now offering mortgages from 40,000 to 600,000 euro with no hidden fees or transaction charges. Letterkenny Credit Union, 9102127.
It's the Right Price Tiles and Wood Flooring half-price sale. Get up to 50% off all tiles. Wood flooring, bathware, cladding, everything's reduced. Tiles from only $8.99 per square yard and wood flooring from only $11.99 per square yard. Right Price Tiles and Wood Flooring half-price January sale is now on.
When they got older and when I was able to start putting my toe back into paid employment, you're back at the bottom of the heap and you suddenly, a woman of a certain age and you're on minimum wage, and it's hard to start again and to have lost those years of pension rights and climbing the career and career success.
Learn more about care and gender inequality in Ireland at ihrec.ie. From the Irish Human Rights and Equality Commission. We're all human, we're all equal.
SuperValue makes saving money as easy as 1, 2, 3. 1. We match Aldi on the products you love. 2. Get great better than half price offers like SuperValue Fresh Irish Sirloin Steak, better than half price. Nestle Cheerios, 700 gram, $2.75. And 3. Money off vouchers every week on the app. SuperValue makes saving money as easy as 1, 2, 3.
I've just had the Eclipse Cinemas experience. Wow, they truly have taken a night at the movies to a whole new level. Amazing recliner chairs, director's lounge VIP rooms, pizza and hot food served to your seat. Have a glass of wine and enjoy the film on the big screen. Try it for yourself at Eclipse Cinemas, Bundoran and Lifford Strabane, where the stars shine brighter. By the way, the pizzas are amazing. You can book your seat anytime at eclipsecinemas.ie.
Things don't have to be this way. Introducing
Radio.
Take control. No more searching or complaining. Because listen, it's wherever you are. Experts have said to expect
60
stations across the country.
Yeah, and it's even got the, pod thingies.
Podcasts.
Oh yes, it's got everything.
Discover a radio experience that speaks to you with the Radio Player app. Download today.
All right, our Monday Focus, Monday Matters, this Monday is on a campaign for a wildlife crime unit. When we were discussing actually what might be discussed with the Garda Commissioner who's due in the county next week, this is one of the issues that it was suggested should be highlighted with him. So I'm delighted to get an opportunity to learn a little bit more about this. Padraig Fogarty's campaign officer at Irish Wildlife Trust. He joins us now. Padraig, good morning to you.
Good morning.
Great to have you on the show. Right, so why do we need a wildlife crime unit? What crime are we trying to avoid or discourage or catch people in the act?
So wildlife crime has been a problem for many years. Ever since we had legislation to protect wildlife, we've had wildlife crime. We know that things like cutting hedgerows outside of nesting season, burning vegetation during the nesting season, polluting rivers, damaging nature reserves, all these kinds of things are going on. For years, I think there's been a sense of impunity in the countryside that these kind of crimes are not really crimes and nobody's really going to pay any attention to them. I think, thankfully, under the current government, we've seen greater emphasis on prosecution of wildlife crimes. We've seen an uptick in convictions. However, we are still not seeing the coordinated approach, I think, that we need across the country. So the UK, for instance, has a dedicated wildlife crime unit that operates on a national level. It coordinates the investigation with the guards if necessary. You have standard procedures. So we're not seeing this in this country. And that is most obvious when you look at where the convictions and the investigations are happening, because we can see that there are large swathes of the country country where it would appear that no crimes against wildlife are being committed at all. And I'm thinking in particular the southwest of the country, areas like Donegal, southeast of the country as well. And so the way these crimes are being investigated is very patchy, and a wildlife crime unit would help to address that.
And we'll tease that out a bit more. But let's say, for instance, I often think when we have a conversation about gorse fires, for example, that the elephant in the room, and people would just talk about it anecdotally, is that it's not always a discarded cigarette butt or a barbecue. It could be someone who's purposely set fire to a hill, for an example. But it's not really talked about. And I don't know whether or not that's even investigated. Sometimes when I'm interviewing people, it's mentioned, but it's sort of masked in something else. It's not said straight out there now, for whatever reason that might be. Maybe because it hasn't been proven. But would that be an example of what we're talking about here?
Oh, very much so. And it's a good example because burning hillsides in particular has been referred to as a traditional agricultural practice. And, talking about agricultural practices in any kind of a negative sense is practically taboo. So it's been easier to think that, this is tourists or people, throwing cigarette butts out of cars, when we know that an awful lot of them, of the fires that we have every spring are caused for agricultural purposes. In other words, to clear the land so that you can get the sheep on it later in the summer. And of course, that's been illegal. As you pointed out, we've seen very few prosecutions for illegal burning. And that's largely because it's so difficult. The law is fashioned in such a way that you nearly have to catch the person red-handed in order to get a conviction. Now, the Department of Agriculture have addressed this somewhat by penalising farmers that have burnt land. So it doesn't mean that they were necessarily the ones responsible for burning it, but they can use satellites to see whether land has been burnt. And if your land is burnt, you get docked your payment. But that's not ideal either, because obviously people who are not responsible are being penalised. And also then there's no particular incentive for farmers at the moment to manage their land in a nature-friendly way that wouldn't require burning.
And I don't think it should be lost either that we're not, I presume this campaign is not looking for the courts to be clogged with people found guilty of crimes against wildlife. Presumably this is a situation whereby people feel there is actually an active crime unit out there to deter people from engaging in it, because people might think, well, what's the point? Because I'm not going to get caught anyway.
Yeah, I mean, that's a big factor. And the other side of it that I think is really worth mentioning is that the state itself is a major culprit in committing wildlife crimes. And this was highlighted by the Independent Biodiversity Forum a couple of years ago, when they referred to the state as the biggest perpetrator of wildlife crimes in the country. And of course, if the state itself and its agencies are not taking these things seriously, well then, I mean,
I presume us pumping poo into the sea untreated is a crime against wildlife.
Oh, of course it is. Yeah. I mean, I mean, we have very clear laws about that and have done for years. And the list goes on protected species, protected habitats, environmental impact assessments, all these kinds of things on projects. Yet we see basically the state and its agencies doing all the things that we're saying are illegal. But there's nobody investigating those kind of crimes by the state. That's left to individuals and NGOs to hold them to account.
And whilst it's not an excuse, but some might see it as an excuse. People might say, well, why should I not wash out my slurry tank in this river? Because half a mile up the road, the state is pumping raw sewage into the sea. As I say, I'm not saying that's happening and I'm not having to go at anyone, but, if the police effectively are seen to be doing this, well, then why should those who are governed by the police, why should they do as they say and not as they do, or vice versa? Sorry.
Yeah. No, I mean, you're absolutely right. Of course, it leads to a sense of impunity, but also a sense of injustice and unfairness if, individual landowners or farmers or whatever are getting the book thrown at them, when up the road there's a state agency, a local authority, maybe the OPW, maybe, or whatever agency it might be, just getting away with the same thing. But nobody is investigating. And we see examples of that all the time.
Right, so what form would a wildlife crime unit take? Would it be like in, say, for instance, the Donegal district, a team of 4 would be established, like a drugs unit, for example, and then that would happen in various areas of the country? Is it something that's done nationally, or it is an arm of the Gardaí, or would it be an arm of another arm of the state? So I suppose we probably have to look internationally to see how this is done across a country successfully.
Yeah, there are examples internationally of it, but basically what we want to see is an arm of the National Parks and Wildlife Service. Now, they have, the rangers in particular and the NPWS have powers under the Wildlife Act, and they frequently work in cooperation with the guards. So at the moment we see, let's say a crime is committed or somebody thinks a crime has been committed, they call their local ranger and that moves up through the structures within the NPWS. But there's no one central body in the country that they could call in. Let's say there's particular expertise that's required to investigate a particular type of crime. Let's say there's particular coordination required. I mean, we want the crimes to be investigated in an even-handed way and standardized way across the country. And one wildlife crime unit would help to do that in an efficient manner.
And also, it sounds like you feel that the laws need to be looked at, that maybe the burden of proof or that bar is too high, or does that need looking at in your view?
Yes, it does as well. The original Wildlife Act was brought in 1976 and it was amended in 2000. But I mean, it's pretty much out of date. There's, we see examples, let's say hedgerow cutting or loss of vegetation during the breeding season. There's a long list of get-out clauses. It's probably not even compliant with European law as it stands. So there's a lot of work that needs to be done there. But we'd also emphasize that we also need proper incentives in place so that farmers are rewarded for having good quality hedgerows, so that it's not a battle for farmers to have to choose between making a living and protecting the nature on their land. That's really at the heart of our problem. So I think if the attitude towards nature was, oh, that's a really important hedgerow, I'm really proud of it and I want to keep it and I'm rewarded for it, well then sure, who would want to be cutting it inappropriately? So that kind of thing is just as important as having the penalties in place.
All right, listen, good stuff. It's great to get an insight into that. Thanks very much for your time. That is Pádraig Fogarty there, or Fogarty, Campaigns Officer at the Irish Wildlife Trust, 086 60 25,000, if you want to get a view in on that topic. All right, let's take a short break.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, with monster loans available up to €60,000 for all occasions. Visit letterkennycu.ie.
New this week in Home Store and More. All floor lamps are all half price. But better hurry, because when all the half price floor lamps are gone, they're gone. Also, all home gym equipment, all 100% cotton printed duvet sets, all prestige kitchenware, and all feather and down duvets and pillows are all still half price. But when they're gone, they're definitely gone. Drop by your local Home Store and More, or visit us online at homestoreandmore.ie. Home Store and More. A happy home.
You may think you know driving, but you don't know Nissan e-Power. An electric motor that brings you the performance and response on the road that you demand, charged by a petrol engine as you drive. The thrill and economy of electric driving without ever having to plug in. And it's exclusive to Nissan. Who said you have to plug in to drive electric? Find the drive you've been looking for with e-Power. Now available in the new Nissan Qashqai, a unique electrifying experience now unplugged. Nissan, innovation that excites.
Have you seen that Grant's Shoes Buncrana have their sale on?
Yeah, I love Grant's Shoes. They're the best for comfortable shoes, amazing service, great value, and better still, Grant's are local and family run.
Grant's Shoes Buncrana, sale now on.
Visit Sensory Complex for a perfect family day out. Kids will love exploring sensory play. We have lots of tasty options available at Backstage Bar and Grill. And at Sensory Cinemas, we're showing kids' movies, comedies, action and adventures, dramas and more. Get in touch on 074 9121976 or visit sensorycinemas.ie for more information.
Donegal Denture Clinic, Letterkenny. Denture problems? We can help. At Donegal Denture Clinic, we customise, personalise and tailor your your dentures to suit you. Call us for a free consultation on 91 25 25 3. Find us at Ballyrain, Letterkenny, beside Rossin College. Medical cards welcome. For all your denture needs, call Donegal Denture Clinic on 91 25 25 3. Online at donegaldentureclinic.ie.
Highland Radio weather updates with Ireland West Airport. Discover Edinburgh this summer with Ryanair's 3 times weekly service. Stunning architecture, endless winding streets and an awe-inspiring castle. Ireland West Airport. Don't just take off, take it easy.
All right, a blustery day today with fresh to strong and gusty westerly winds. A mix of scattered showers and sunny spells through the day, with showers becoming more isolated by nightfall. Temperatures today, 6 to 8 degrees, with winds easing in the evening. I just want to give a quick mention, an important mention though, to Drumkeen man Joe Brennan. He was honoured at Saturday Mass on his retirement from caretaking duties at St Patrick's Church and Grounds, Drumkeen. He worked for over 3 decades, 30 years in the parish and school, and is a well-known community member, and he recently retired to focus on his farm and his wife Eileen, and he was also recently appointed as a Peace Commissioner. Joe, well done to you. I'm sure everyone in that area and beyond are really grateful for your service and wishing you all the best in your retirement. Eileen might be kicking you out to keep you busy. I don't know. We shall see. You'll be busy on the farm anyway. Right, we mentioned this on the show last week. A British investment fund could buy upwards of 123 acres of rural Ireland as part of a deal to help the state's forestry agency meet its climate targets. Quilcha is aiming to plant around 247,000 acres of new forest by 2015 in an area that is larger than Dublin. Deputy Mark McSharry is opposed to this, I believe. Deputy McSharry, good morning to you. Thanks for taking the call.
Good morning, Greg.
I mean, the question I had when I read this first is why would a British investment fund be looking to buy up parts of rural Ireland? They're not doing it for the love of it or to you know, there's obviously some reason why they're interested in it.
Well, it's for profitability, obviously. I mean, what Quilcha are proposing to do here is effectively transition out of public ownership the equivalent of 1,500 farms or 50,000 hectares over a period of time. They're going to use taxpayers' money to do it, and we'll end up with faceless forests owned by foreign investments, with the money going directly to them in other countries. So I'm definitely opposed to this, because what would be much better is, if we want forestry, we must incentivise our own farming families to plant the land, so that they're getting the premiums, so that they're getting the money, and they're spent in our local communities and our local areas throughout the country. Now, I appreciate that Quilcha, like all our semi-state companies, have commercial mandates, and they must run on a profitability basis and make profit. That's fair enough. But what's proposed in this instance is something that's going to send Irish investment, Irish land ownership, and the tradition of land ownership and over 15 farms into foreign ownership. And
now, there is some concern too that this could leave farmers competing for land at higher prices or push up the price of land. How would this deal impact on land prices in that way, Mark?
Well, there's no question that it'll go up. I mean, if we have foreign investment companies coming in that are driven exclusively by profit, that have large wallets in terms of investment funds that they're able to invest, and then naturally that will put pressure on areas of our country where land at the moment might be somewhat competitive. It'll certainly make it less competitive to those farmers and farming families that are trying to build a little bit of scale.
And how would, pardon my ignorance, an investment fund make money off this? Is it felling the trees eventually and selling them? I mean, where's the money making for, or is it the land increasing in value? Where's the money making element to this for this fund?
Well, it's in the same way as if you or I, if we plant the land and we can afford to do so and finance that over a period of 30 years, we get the premiums and the tax write-offs in the meantime, and then we reap the benefit of the timber at the other end while still owning the land.
I get you, right. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah.
And, I mean, the idea that Quilcha, a semi-state company, an Irish company, a company owned by the Irish people, with 450,000 hectares of land that make profits of 100 million per year, are in effect going to bring in a foreign company is ridiculous in the extreme.
Do you think it's even plausible that maybe at some point then I don't know what this land is or what it could be used for, but there could be concerns then that maybe they might seek to rezone it down the line, and really their interest isn't in forestry. Maybe that's a bit, maybe that's a tin hat concern. But is there any concerns in that regard?
I don't see that being transitioning Irish people out of Irish land ownership. And that is totally unacceptable to me. If forestry must be the alternative that governments and state agencies are pushing, and I'm thinking climate change, it certainly has a role to play, then we must incentivise Irish farmers through increased premia to be able to buy the land and earn a living from it themselves. But for us to be doing it with foreign interests and using taxpayers' money to, in effect, give away our land, that is totally unacceptable to me, and I'm ruthlessly opposed to it.
Yeah, I don't think Minister Charlie McConalogue, the Agriculture Minister, is fully happy with it either. He has his concerns. I believe he's to meet with Culture. Culture say that if they are to meet 2050 targets, then they are going to need money from the private sector. But I suppose that's why we elect politicians and they're relegated to ministries. It's up to them to sort this out then.
Yeah, as far as I'm concerned, it's a matter of Minister McConalogue and the Junior Minister for Forestry assuming the authority they were elected to hold. And in this instance, put the people and population of Ireland first. If additional monies are required for Quincha to continue as profitable as they are while reaching our targets, then we as a state can cough up that money ourselves. We don't have to use taxpayers' resources, valuable taxpayers' resources, to enable other countries and other foreign investors to come in and, in effect, transition Irish farming families out of existence.
All right, we'll leave it there. Thank you very much indeed. That's Deputy Mark McSharry. If you've a view on that, 086 60 25,000. Let's get to some of your other comments coming in so far this morning. Hi, Greg. Can the hotel not take €20 off parents? And if no damage is done, give back the money. I'm sure there is plenty of young ones going to pay the bill if needed, but I'm pretty sure the young ones will do no harm. And I hope now, when they get married, they'll have their wedding elsewhere or get security persons to keep an eye over. Listen, at the end of the day, a lot of the people, the majority of what we're talking about here they're fully grown adults, 18 or 19. You know, there are babies in inverted commas, but these are adults. And mummy and daddy shouldn't have to be putting up a deposit in case there's damage, should they? I don't think so. Now, some might choose to. That being said, one mother did offer her credit card details as a security if there were any damage. But these parents, guardians, are very proud of the young people who've been through a very tough time through COVID. For some of them, this might be the first big night out, and I think we shouldn't presume that they are all going to get loaded and wrecked to join. Young people aren't like that. You know, some elements of the media might have you believe that's the case, but it's not. The majority choose not to drink. They're not interested. They might have a couple, but they want to have the crack and they want to wake up and save money, have money to run their cars and all that type of stuff. Fair play to Mary T. Now it's up to the Donegal public to put their feet on the ground and walk the walk, not talk the talk. Varadkar and co need to get the message. Enough is enough. In the last interview with the Letterkenny University Hospital General Manager, I think he said it all when he said that he didn't want to fall out with Minister Donnelly. In other words, he has no bite when speaking about local hospital issues. He has to toe the line and say that everything is fine. We need hospital managers who are not afraid to tell the Minister how it really is and stop being an obedient person. I understand the point that you're trying to make. I don't think that is necessarily the point that Sean Murphy was trying to make, but I understand how you could take that from it, and I understand how you formed that point of view. I talked to people in Donegal awaiting operations in debilitating pain. There's no point in protesting. It's not effective. Look at the Micah situation. People are taking time off work and nothing is going to happen. Listen, I'll say one thing. The defective concrete block situation, they're on the brink of a scheme that perhaps could be workable, a scheme that's much better than the scheme that went before it. Defective concrete wouldn't even be being discussed if it wasn't for that protest. So I disagree respectfully with your opinion there. I think actually the Micah protest proved what can happen if people take to the streets. It's not perfect. It needs work. It needs calibrating. It needs widening perhaps, but it's a better scheme that is there, and we have to yet to see once it's actually implemented, and that's sooner the better, how it works for people. But yeah, people in debilitating pain, these are elective surgeries, you know, like I think for the most part a lot of the I hope a lot of the sort of the cancer surgeries and things like that would go ahead, but there are people with sore hips and knees and stuff. Their lives are a misery at the moment. They're perhaps going to get their operations delayed. Right, back to the NCT. My 4-year-old car failed the NCT because the check engine yellow light is on due to a problem with a sensor, and the garage is unable to get the parts. So I wonder what happens if stopped by the Gardaí. If your car's booked for an NCT, you have a bit of coverage there, dependent. I mean, who you ask that. I don't understand why they failed it for a light being on, though. Modern cars, unfortunately, in particular cars, that light's on all the time with one sensor or other going. I mean, did they identify... Like, I would like to know what they wrote in the report. Did they say failed because sensor light was on? Or not sensor light on, engine light was on? I'm not sure how that affects the... I didn't think that would form part of the test, but anyway, I'm clearly wrong. My car's 25 years old. No bother testing it every year. And as for trusting the people, lol, when we can't trust the government. All right. What kind of a car is it? 25-year-old car. Still passing its test, fair play. Well, Greg and Mary T, it's up to the people. All the people of Donegal to get together. Come to the hospital on Saturday the 21st. Stand and speak up for our hospital and health services in Donegal. That is all about lives, saving lives, improving conditions for all, nothing else. We all must pull together. As a parent of a child going to the prom next week, I find it quite disturbing that other parents are letting their young ones stay in a hotel overnight. I already worry about my daughter going out and meeting friends at night as it is. The parents complaining should be more concerned about their son and daughter's safety. Again, we're talking about 18-year-olds here for the most part, but maybe is that the way it is nowadays? There's no mention by RTE News or government about busloads of immigrants coming into Dublin and people marching. Population has grown. Deal with our people equally. The one thing is about, and I know we're all about thinking for ourselves, right? If you look at the statistics, we take in migrants and have consistently taken in migrants. The migrants that you talk of that come in these busloads. We have a legal duty that we've been doing for years. Now, there was a fall-off because of COVID and people weren't travelling. But we are always taking in and have always taken in migrants. You might remember the conversation about direct provision and all that, but there are some people that are whipping it up saying that all of a sudden this is new. People will agree or disagree. Some people say the country's full or the services can't support. That's fine, but it's not new. People coming into this country seeking refuge for different reasons. It really, really isn't, and open up Google or something. But that doesn't take away from your point, but let's not try and frame it as if it's a brand new problem, because it certainly isn't. Scale, maybe the scale's an issue. We'll talk about that more in the future, I'm sure. Right, that's where we have to leave it on the programme today. Thanks to all of you who listened or watched the show